don't fully comprehend it at all.
Now, time for Jon Jim.
Friday here on Jon and Jim, taking you to 6 p.m. tonight. A lot to get to in the show. It's the Super Bowl this weekend. Oh, yeah. We have Padres non-roster invites to talk about. Luka making his debut, not this Saturday, but coming up on Monday for the Lakers. Jon is on his way back from Wyoming. He skied more than any person I've ever seen ski in my entire life.
Is he getting ready for the Winter Olympics?
I have no idea, but he did a lot of skiing this weekend. Every single one of his posts was a skiing post every single day. And he'll be back on Monday. This is the final day of just me and Brent holding it down.
Take that, Lindsey Vaughn. When you think of skiing,
exactly.
You think of John Schaefer.
Not particularly. John doesn't, strike me as the most athletic person on the planet, even though he does honestly, work out every day somehow.
I'm still shocked that he can ski, considering that he can't ride a bike and other stuff.
Because it takes coordination.
Well, I always figured he would be in sitcoms, whenever they go to some ski resort, the main character always breaks his ankle or something 5 minutes out on the slopes.
It's you go have fun skiing, I'll stay in the lodge.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured John would be on the slopes. I kind of figured that he would just get hurt and then I'm just gonna hang out here inside where it's warm and not cold.
Well, John will be back on Monday. We'll have that game on Sunday to talk. What's it? The Super Bowl. Yeah, that's right. To talk about coming up Monday. But today, Padres, they announced their non-roster invites for spring training. Pitchers and catchers report in less than a week. Next Wednesday, to be exact. Or Tuesday. What is it? Tuesday, Wednesday? I don't know the exact day, but it's next week, just days after the Super Bowl, where pitchers and catchers will report. And then you'll see all the position players to slowly trickle their way in there to spring training. They'll have their first workouts shortly after that. I know Jackson Merrill's already in Arizona. He's at the Waste Management Open right now. I think Joe's there as well, or Joe's in Arizona somewhere, even though he won't be pitching for the team this year, but he is going to do everything he possibly can to be around this team as much as he can this upcoming year. But, the non-roster invites were announced today. We'll talk about that coming up later this hour. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network. She was at the NFL Honors Awards last night. She's going to talk about Josh Allen winning MVP over Lamar Jackson. Of course, her breakdown of the Super Bowl this upcoming weekend. Chris Hodge is going to join us in the 4 p.m. hour. But we'll start with what I saw today on Fangraphs. And they officially announced the win total for the Padres this year. And this was just their projections. I know earlier in the week, Fangraphs came out with a little snippet of why the Padres are going to be projected as what they are for Fangraphs, and it wasn't great. And now they officially released that number total for the upcoming season. Now, let me remind you, last year at this time, actually after, because I remember there was Dan Zaborski had an updated win total article after the Dylan Cease trade. And there were other moves that were made. Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery. These moves were made pretty late into spring training and the offseason. So everything had to be updated. But at this very moment in time, right now, the Padres win total for next year, according to Fangraphs, is, guess what, Brent? Give me a number. What do you think Fangraphs has them projected right now to win for next year?
82.
Did you look at the rundown? Because that is exactly the number.
I figured it'd be someone mid in the 80s.
82 is the exact number that Fangraphs projects the Padres to win next year.
That sounds about right.
Well, look, it's just projections. Take it with a grain of salt, maybe a couple grains of salt. And let me remind you, last year at this time, when the Dylan Cease trade happened, the Padres win total projections, according to Fangraphs, was 83. So these things obviously are just what they are. They're projections. It's not a complete end all be all of what a team is going to do. It's just kind of like an indication of what, with all the moves that have been made and not been made and the holes they have, what they project, goes into what their win total will be for the upcoming season. 82 wins with the core they have, and they lost Profar and they haven't made any moves. I'm not surprised, but I'm also a little surprised. I don't know, a 10-win drop off from last year when the one player that you lost, you only lost one of the major player that you lost was Jerkson Profar, and then you lost Higgy as well. Joe was not a huge factor last year. He was a factor. He came back from injury. So you're telling me that without Profar and Higgy, those two players are worth nearly 10 wins, 11 wins. If you project them to win 82 this year, they won 93 last year. You're projecting an 11-win drop-off from last season when at this moment in time, you haven't lost everything. You just haven't added anything.
I don't know. Maybe they're just saying that they overachieved last year.
You could say that.
I don't know. I look at it like, like on the rap, you kind of like to do the Goldilocks game of, is it too much just right or too little? I think it's, the medium porridge. I think that it's about right because
Goldilocks.
If they get below, 78 or anything below 80, I think is too low. And I think anything above maybe 85 is too high. So, I think that 82, 83 is just about right. They might overachieve a little bit again this year and then maybe get up higher than that. But it's like we talked earlier in the week. It's one of those things where if one of those guys in that starting rotation goes down, they're screwed. So, that could make their number drop even more if something like that happens. But I don't know. I think 82, 83 games seems about right.
Do you know what their win total is in Las Vegas, Brent? Give me a guess. So if Fangraphs has them projected for 82 wins, you had Pacoda, their projections saying that they have a 38% chance to make the postseason. They have a 0.7% chance to win the World Series. What do you think their over-under win total is in Vegas?
I'll say Vegas is a little harsher. I'll say 80.
80 wins?
Yeah, I think it'll be lower.
Actually, it's higher, and it's much higher than 80 wins. It's 85.5.
Oh, okay.
So right now,
half a win.
The over-under for the Padres win total in 2025 is 85.5. So what's my takeaway? If you add all of this stuff together with the Pacoda projections and the Fangraph projections and the Vegas win projections over-under there, it tells me that this team is going to be good, but not great. That's what everyone thinks right now of the San Diego Padres until they make moves, until they make a path, until they make a move for a left fielder, or they definitively have, all right, this is going to be our guy in left. This is going to be the rest of our pitching staff. Here's our other bat that we're looking for. Until those things happen right now, all the projections and the Vegas and Fangraphs that they view the Padres as a good but not great team, a team that they don't feel like is a lock for the postseason, obviously, but also anything can happen, and you can end up ripping off a couple good months like they did last year. And like you said, Brent, maybe they do overachieve again. You could argue that last year's team overachieved with the production that they got from players that you never expected them to give you that. But at this moment in time, can you count on that to happen again? Can you count on players to overachieve once again? And not the same players, but different players on the team and other guys that you haven't heard of. Maybe, you got to expect one of these non-roster invites to make the team and all of a sudden, put together a really good season, or a guy that they, sign off the scrap heap, come in and, play like Donovan Solano. Like you're going to have, I'm not going to say lightning in a bottle, but kind of close. And that's where all these projections are showing the Padres at right now is they're a good but not a great team, and they're probably going to have to overachieve once again to make the postseason. Their margin for error it's slim. Their depth is a problem.
Well, and it doesn't help that, I think the NL West is probably going to be the best division in baseball this year.
It could be. It has the potential to be.
Minus the Rockies, I think it's going to be like the NL Central was, or not Central, North, whatever they call it these days. That one year when, remember, the Cubs, the Brewers, and like the Cardinals, all like pretty much 3 out of the 4 teams in the division went to the playoffs that one year. I think it could be pretty much like that because the Dodgers are going to get in, but everyone that's not named the Rockies has a shot.
Well, the Padres, Dennis Lin just tweeted out moments ago, right on cue, they have made, or at least they're close to making a move. They are very close to making a move. We'll tell you what that move is coming up next. Later in the hour, we're going to talk about the MVP award last night in the NFL. I have some thoughts on that. Also, the Hall of Fame was announced. Some interesting choices making the Hall of Fame and not making the Hall of Fame. All that coming up next hour. But coming up next, are the Padres about to make a move? It looks like it. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim. All right, do me a favor right now. And if you are listening on the iHeartRadio app at this very moment, I want you in your presets, unless you're John, who doesn't have this feature, just put in your presets right now, San Diego Sports 760, as well as Jon and Jim, the podcast page for us there. If you don't have the iHeartRadio app, download that thing. What are you guys doing out there? Come on. And once you download it, put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets and put Jon and Jim, our podcast page, in your presets as well. Dennis Lynn, moments ago, tweeted out. Let me just pull this up. Poway High's Connor Joe is close to a deal with the Padres per sources. Now, I got to give a shout out to our boys at Divine Gospel, because they actually did put out something a little earlier saying there was good news, and they were hinting strongly without saying that it was Connor Joe. So shout out to you guys. Good job there. Connor Joe. Let's look at Connor Joe, Brent, because it looks like it's going to happen. If Dennis is tweeting that out, it's going to happen.
I'm looking at him.
Connor Joe, he is a San Diego native, but what did he do last season? Last year, he hit 228 with 9 home runs and 36 RBI. Last 2 seasons, he played with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Before that, he was in Colorado. His best season by far was in 2021, but he only played 63 games, but he hit 285 with an 848 OPS. I remember that year. He was on fire. He had 8 home runs and 35 RBI that year. Nothing crazy, nothing special, but he is a major leaguer. This is a move, if and when this happens, will be, I hope AJ Preller found his potential, like Donovan Solano type of guy, or David Peralta type of guy. It's a rounding out of the edges piece that I could work out, couldn't work out, but now the odds of him, Connor Joe, being the starting left fielder on opening day, I would put it at give it a 55% chance that he's the starting left fielder on opening day for the Padres.
I'll put it 40. I think he's going to be a good depth piece. He's going to be, like you said, he's going to be like Solano and those guys, to where he's not going to play every day. He's just going to play, a couple times a week and pinch hit. And I don't know, it's not a bad depth move. I hope, nothing against Connor Joe, but I hope he's not their starting left fielder, because I don't think, we're going to get the value
that you got from Jerkson Profile last year in left field with Connor Joe. I get it. Yeah.
I want to call it the mystery production, because nobody was expecting to get any of that from Jerkson, from what they got. So yeah, I'm not expecting him to just come out and just shock all of us.
Connor Joe's career numbers against left-handed pitching, they're okay. 254 lifetime career hitter versus left-handed pitching, with a 110 OPS plus, 350 on base, 766 OPS. Those are fine numbers. They're not Donovan Solano numbers. Could this guy be a platoon guy? Could he be, I'm not going to say everyday piece, because if you had Connor Joe be an everyday piece to the puzzle here,
you're in bigger problems than you thought.
It's not the best option in the world, but hey, he's a San Diego kid, went to Poway High. So that's cool in itself, but I mean, Ty France went to San Diego State and they shipped him out of town right away. And
who was that other guy that was from San Diego and then he went to the Giants?
I don't know. What are you talking about? Connor Joe was on the Giants at one point in time.
No, it wasn't him. There's another guy that he was from the San Diego area and he was popular. He played for the Padres for like half a season, and then like the following year, I can't remember if they traded him to the Giants or if he signed with them, and then he went to the Giants. Text line will tell us who it is.
I have no idea. Yeah, it's just a depth piece. He could play multiple positions. He could play left field, potentially right field, little first base. I'm looking at too much more.
Alex Dickerson. Thank you, chat. I knew you'd come through.
He has a career 107 WRC plus versus left-handed pitching. Right-handed pitching, not great. Again, it's a platoon depth guy, but they made a move. I thought that they weren't going to make a move before pitchers and catchers reported next week. But hey, at least it's something. At least it's a major leaguer. And I'm assuming it's going to be signed to a major league deal as well. So we'll talk more about Connor Joe potentially signing here very, very soon. It looks like it's going to happen. Dennis is reporting it, then it's going to happen. Just waiting for official confirmation there. So last night, the MVP got announced, and Josh Allen wins his first ever MVP in the National Football League. John hates when I say that. I hate when I say that. But when you look at the votes and you look at how he won, is he deserving? Yeah, he's deserving. But it just doesn't make sense how Lamar gets first team All-Pro and then Josh Allen wins the MVP. Yes, the Bills had more wins than the Ravens, but I feel like a lot of the people that voted against Lamar for the MVP, one of the reasons why was he has Derrick Henry on his team, another All-Pro back. Huh? So you're going to punish a guy for playing with good players and putting up crazy numbers and putting up numbers better than the MVP. I don't remember people saying that Kurt Warner shouldn't have won the MVP because he was playing with Marshall Faulk. I think I'm getting upset for over nothing. It's Josh Allen. It's great. It's fine. I think Lamar should have won it. But it's when you get people in their explanation for why they voted Josh Allen over Lamar, and then they use things like, well, Lamar has Derrick Henry, so it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter at all. It should be about who put up the best season. Now, again, the MVP award, that V in the MVP for most valuable player can be taken in 100 different directions. And you don't have to look at stats if you want to tell me that someone's more valuable than the other. But it was kind of shocking. I think a lot of people were shocked last night that Lamar gets first team All-Pro, and the same voters that voted him first team All-Pro then voted Josh Allen MVP. So the MVP this year was not a first team All-Pro player. Make that make sense.
Well, I thought it was weird. It kind of reminded me of college football this year when Travis Hunter he wasn't named a finalist for defensive back of the year, but yet he won the Heisman Trophy. It's like, so you're telling me he was the most outstanding player in college football, but he wasn't one of the top 3 defensive backs. So he's not even going to be a finalist for that award. That's kind of what it reminded me of was, oh, okay, he's MVP, but he was second team All-Pro.
Yeah. So it's interesting. We'll talk to Cynthia Freeland coming up at 5 p.m. She was there last night of the NFL Network. Her thoughts on Josh Allen winning the MVP over Lamar. A lot of people were shocked.
I'm not mad about it.
I'm not mad about it. I'm not like mad about it. I think it's maybe fake outrage, but it just made me scratch my head thinking, okay, so wait, the same voters that voted Lamar first team All-Pro over Josh Allen, then right around went and voted for Josh Allen as the MVP over Lamar. One of those people, by the way, Dan Orlowski, who he tried to explain himself this morning on ESPN, and everybody on the panel just looked at him and was in complete confusion.
That's okay. That's how I feel every time he talks. I can't stand him.
Coming up next, Padres today, they released their non-roster invites for spring training. What does that tell us? What are some interesting names on that list? We'll break that down. And Connor Joe looks like he's going to be coming to the San Diego Padres, close to a deal, according to Dennis Lynn. All of that coming up next right here on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by eBay. Last night, Buffalo's Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen is the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro. Since the MVP was first handed out in 1957, Allen received 27 of 50 first place votes. That was 4 more than Ravens' Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro quarterback last month. And we have 4 players now that are going to Canton for the NFL Hall of Fame. This year's class includes former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He's going in alongside with cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage begins right here at 6 o'clock. Uncle Teddy will have the tips shortly after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs. Swapping out your tires, there's nothing like it. With eBay, you'll find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. So this morning, the Padres released their non-roster invites for spring training. This is the type of tweet that Mad Friars waits for every single spring training. A couple names on the list that are interesting and that stand out to me the most are Ethan Salas, Leo DeVries, and I mean, if you want to go deep in the weeds from some players that, you might not know, Francis Pena. You also have Jonathan Peraza, JB Wendelken. He also is a non-roster invite. Luis Patino, Logan Gillespie, Martin Maldonado, Mason McCoy. But the 2 names on the list that everybody will want to see the most in spring training easily is Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries. Do I think that they're going to make the opening day roster? No, I do not. Nor do I think they should make the opening day roster. But, I mean, if you're going to Peoria, that's going to be pretty cool to see a couple top 100 prospects and 2 in the top 30-ish play a lot of, innings in spring training. I would not be surprised if you saw a lot of Ethan Salas and a lot of Leo DeVries, because Leo DeVries, potentially the shortstop of the future. Ethan Salas, obviously, they've already dubbed him the catcher of the future. So my question was, how many non-roster invites make the opening day roster when the Padres take on the Braves here at Petco Park? I think at least a couple. At least a couple. Maybe a pitcher and a position player. And another thing, too, to look at here is damn near all of these pitchers that are non-roster invites are relievers. So you need starting pitching. This kind of says it right here. This is not a very deep non-roster invite list. It's just not. AJ Cassavell wrote about it earlier today, and he says that, this to me says the depth of this team is right now the biggest issue, or one of the biggest issues, along with left fielder and starting pitching. But you don't have the necessary depth, it looks like, to withstand potentially any injuries or, whatever the case may be. So you have a lot of relievers here, and you got 2 top prospects that will be in Peoria. I'm not the type of guy that is like Matt Friars, everyone that works there, or our buddy Too Much Morton's, who lives to look up and see all of these guys and what they've done in the minors. Do I think any of these players are going to help this team this year? Maybe.
Define help.
Make a start or 2. Pitch some innings in relief.
pinch hit or something.
Pinch hit, take over for a position of a guy that's injured, just for like maybe a couple games or a week or so. But I would bet that you are going to see multiple players get a chance with the Padres this year. It looks like Tirso is going to be able or be given an opportunity to play left field. The signing of Connor Joe that has now been reported also by Jon Heyman is a depth piece for this team. He's going to be on the opening day roster, I would assume. It's not flashy by any stretch. It's not, wow, the Padres made a legitimate move. This is great. No, it's kind of, okay. Like they're going to have a bunch of pieces. They're going to be throwing stuff at the wall and see what sticks. That's really what it comes down to. AJ Preller this offseason has signed a bunch of players to minor league contracts. He is looking at the bottom of the barrel and thrown it at a wall and see if it sticks. Now we're going to have to see this season if it does stick. You don't know that at this moment in time. You got to see what happens on the baseball field. But as of right now, it doesn't feel like the Padres are going to be making any sizable moves other than a potential trade for pieces to bring back in said trade. I can't wait to hear from Schulte on what he thinks of Connor Joe.
I can't wait to hear what his nickname's going to be.
Oh,
Connie, Joey,
yeah, Connor, CJ. He's going to come up with a nickname.
Oh yeah, we know he's gonna. There's not a single player on that team. We found out the other day when he mentioned them all in his 2-minute press conference that I don't think there's a player on the team that doesn't have a nickname.
I think that this team is going to rely heavily on their stars, and they don't have to tell you that. Just look at their actions. I said it all the time. The actions speak louder than the words, and the actions of this team are, well, sure hope our superstar players perform, because if they don't, we're in trouble. And that's where we're at right now. Going into spring training, which pitchers and catchers report next week. I still am surprised that they haven't at least made one move for at least a starting pitcher. Because you don't have Joe, and the pitching depth on this team right now, other than King, Cease, and Darvish, isn't that great. I know Randy Vasquez started 20 games last year, Brent. Matt Waldron, he had nice moments last year, and at one point, he was one of their best pitchers. But then he fell off a cliff. Can you trust that? Can a knuckleballer make it through an entire season? I don't think you're going to be seeing many R.A. Dickies around anymore in baseball. There's a reason why the knuckleball hasn't really caught on, because it ain't something that you can rely on heavily every single outing. It's a hit or miss type of pitch.
About every 5 years, someone comes along and it's okay.
And you can be amazing for a 2-month stretch like Matt Waldron was. But once you lose it, you lose it. So of the non-roster invites, to me, the biggest thing I see is, all right, Leo DeVries, Ethan Salas, those guys, they're going to be in camp. They're not making the team. I would be shocked if they made the team. But what's going to happen is, if you go to spring training this year, guess what? You're going to see a lot of Leo DeVries and a lot of Ethan Salas, which I would be excited about. That excites me. That's something that I would want to see during a spring training game. Even if none of the Mannies of the world and Xander and Jackson Merrill and Fernando Tatis Jr., if they're not all out there, but hey, do I get to watch a spring training game with Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas? Like, yeah, I'm all for that. Sign me up. So that's exciting. But everything else on the non-roster invite list, I I'm not going to sit here and act like I know every single detail of the non-roster invites. But I can say that reading other people that have broke this down and looked at the non-roster invites, it's pretty thin. And that could be an issue. Now, if Leo DeVries and Ethan Salas were right at the doorstep of, making the Major League opening day roster, then this would be completely different for me. Because you have two guys that are potentially going to be on the opening day roster. And I would be excited for that. I would be like, okay, you got two guys like Jackson Merrill last year. Boom, ready to go. But I don't think they're going to give DeVries and Salas the opportunity that they gave Jackson Merrill last year, nor should they give them that opportunity. They need more time in the minors. They're teenagers right now. And you need to give them more time. Jackson Merrill, yes, he came up and lit the world on fire. He was amazing. But you need to look at Ethan Salas and his year last year in the minors. It wasn't great offensively. If he has another year the same like he did this past year, then we might be able to be concerned about that. At this point in time, just keep him out in the minors. Just let him, develop down there. And I'd feel much more comfortable. And I think that's what they're going to do. All right, coming up next. So the Hall of Fame announcement of Hall of Famies. That's not even a word, Jim. It's a Friday. It's been a freaking long week. It is now.
We should start it. That's what we're going to call them.
It has been a long week. The Hall of Fame. I'm
going to call them the Hall of Famies and the rest of my updates.
Oh, my gosh.
Thanks for that.
Who made it? Who didn't? We'll talk about that coming up next. The Aztecs are back on the road tomorrow night when they take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage begins at 6 p.m. Ted has the tip after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. So the news of the day right now, it's not officially official yet, but Dennis Lin and John Hammond reporting that the Padres have agreed to a deal with Connor Joe, San Diego native, the pride of Poway High, a cancer survivor, really good dude. I think as far as, intangibles go, it's a good fit for this clubhouse. It's a good addition. I think it's a very good addition to this clubhouse. On the field, though, is where it matters the most. And how much can he help? I think he can help. I think right now, if you told me going into this season, Connor Joe is part of this team, but not in a huge role, like more or less like a bench piece, platoon guy, matchup type of guy, I'm all for that. Now, if you told me that Connor Joe is going to make 150 starts in left field next year, that might be a little bit of an issue. But as of right now, I like the signing. I think, it's always good to have a player on the team born and raised in San Diego. Talent here is really good. And I think Connor Joe, fits the mold of this team really well. And he's just a good dude. Everything that I've seen about him, he's just a good guy. So it fits from that standpoint. Absolutely fits. Now, can he help on the field with this team? That will be something that matters the most. But as of right now, good fit, good piece, good bench role, good platoon guy, pinch hit guy, can play multiple positions, something that they needed. I think I would take Donovan Solano's bat over Connor Joe's, but I would take Connor Joe's versatility over Donovan Solano. And we know how much AJ Preller loves his versatility, guys. Guys that can play multiple positions on the diamond. Connor Joe is one of those players. So
can he play shortstop?
Probably. So we'll talk more about that coming up later in the show. Also, Cynthia Freeland's going to join us at 5 p.m. to talk about all the awards that were given out last night, especially Josh Allen winning MVP over Lamar Jackson. And oh, by the way, the Super Bowl is this Sunday, so we'll get her breakdown of that game as well. Chris Hodge is going to join us at 4 p.m. Make sure to stay tuned for that. He is on an absolute heater right now when it comes to betting on games. But the Hall of Fame last night was announced for the NFL. The players that were enshrined into the Hall of Fame last night involved the one and only Antonio Gates. And to me, and I'm sure to everyone out there as well, when you think Antonio Gates, you think San Diego Charger. By no means is he affiliated at all with the LA Chargers. He is a San Diego Charger. And, we don't know if Phillip is going to ever get in the Hall of Fame. But if, let's just say, Phillip does not get in the Hall of Fame, this could be the last San Diego Charger to make the Hall of Fame. Think about that. The San Diego Chargers are gone. They're dead. All right. The only remaining player that played in San Diego on the Chargers is Joey Bosa. Because Keenan Allen is gone. He's in Chicago. So there's no ties between San Diego, player-wise, with the Chargers right now and the city. And Antonio Gates was kind of one of those last things that if you were a San Diego Chargers fan that you could celebrate, like, wow, our guy went in the Hall of Fame. And it's sad because he's not going to get, I feel like, the love and recognition he absolutely deserves up in LA. I would hope that he would come to San Diego to help, celebrate him being inducted in the Hall of Fame. But I don't know if you're going to get that. So, like when you think about it, the San Diego Chargers are dead, but if Phillip Rivers does not make the Hall of Fame, then this is it as far as San Diego Chargers go being inducted.
He'll get in. I don't think he'll get in first ballot, but he'll get in.
I think he will too. Not first ballot, because if Eli Manning, who did not get in last night on first ballot, then Phillip Rivers will not get in on the first ballot either.
I think people make too big of a deal out of first ballot. You look at like Jerry Kramer from the Packers, who like for 20 some years walked around Radio Row and like begged and pleaded to get put into the Hall of Fame. And then they finally put him in on his last year of eligibility. You think he cares? No,
they don't care.
As long as he's in.
Sterling Sharp made the Hall of Fame last night, and he retired in 1995.
Yeah, and he was getting up there for his like years for being eligible too. So I don't think he cares. And I don't think it's like a knock or anything if he goes in like second ballot.
The Eli Manning thing, though, is interesting because Eli Manning, the two Super Bowls, the one obviously over the Patriots undefeated season is one of the most iconic games in NFL history. And then, of course, he beat the Patriots once again a couple years later. His numbers do stack up, but he never really was like a great regular season player. Never won an MVP. Doesn't have the all-pro resume that other quarterbacks have. But we all know he's a Hall of Famer. Like, he's going to get in the Hall of Fame. First ballot, okay, not on first ballot, he'll get in next year. If Eli's not getting in, then Phillip's not getting in. I'll be curious to see what happens with Big Ben if he gets in first ballot. Now, his regular seasons, I feel like, were better than Eli's. But again, another guy that did not win an MVP, won a couple Super Bowls, was a really good playoff quarterback, his longevity. But the three quarterbacks that all came in the same draft class, Eli, Big Ben, and Phillip, I think one day they will all be in the Hall of Fame, and as they should. But it was a little interesting that Eli didn't make it last night, and I don't understand that. It's like, all right, we know he's going to be a Hall of Famer. We know that he's going to make the Hall of Fame one day. What's the difference between putting him in now opposed to next year? You got to it's like a punishment. Oh, we got to make him wait. Well, is he a Hall of Famer or not? Like, so your mind's going to change next year? I don't know. It's weird how we know, and everybody knows, and everyone there knows that Eli's a Hall of Famer, yet he's got to wait. Okay.
Well, I don't even know if he'll get in next year necessarily, because there's some big name guys that are up for eligibility next year besides Phillip Rivers. Drew Brees is eligible next year. Larry Fitzgerald is eligible. Jason Witten from the Cowboys. Frank Gore.
I mean, he won't get in next year.
So there's a chance. He might not. The thing with Eli is, and this sound to a certain degree, this sounds stupid, but if you take the Super Bowls away, he doesn't really have much. He's just average.
But the Super Bowls are a big part of it.
I know, that's why I said it sounds dumb saying it out loud, but it's one of those things where, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. That doesn't mean he's going to be a Hall of Famer. You need something besides just the two Super Bowls, I think. And that's why he's not first ballot, because he doesn't have accompanied stats to go with the Super Bowls.
Well, Antonio Gates, he is in, as he should be.
He should be.
Sterling Sharp, Jared Allen, Eric Allen, all Hall of Famers, but no Eli. All right, coming up next, Chris Hodge is going to join us at 4 p.m. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network, going to join us at 5. Also, during Trainwreck Radio, we have another pair of Aztec tickets to give away. But stay right here. Coming up next, we have to dive into the Padres' future under John Seidler, and what does it actually look like? We'll talk about that coming up next.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage begins at 6 o'clock. Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. Last night, Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen is the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro since the MVP award was first handed out in 1957. Allen received 27 of 50 first place votes, 4 more than the Ravens' Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro at quarterback last month. And we have 4 more players getting inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. This year's Hall of Fame class includes former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He is going to go into the Hall of Fame alongside cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $250 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends April 5th. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
The voice of the Lakers, John Ireland. John, have you been able to fully process the Luka trade yet, or is it going to take a couple more days?
It's so hard to comprehend that the Mavericks would trade Luka Doncic. Do they know something we don't? Why would you do this? Until I've maybe got 2 weeks of games under his belt, I don't think I'll fully comprehend it at all.
Now, time for and Jim.
All right, hour 2 of Jon and Jim on a Friday, Super Bowl week. A couple days away from the big game. Aaron is freaking out, by the way. Just like I was freaking out last year. And I go, see, now you know how I felt. Even though the Eagles went to Super Bowl a couple years ago, we ended up going to Arizona. And she loved it. She thought it was really cool. Wasn't really my thing because we watched the game in like a giant, I don't know, park. And it was cool from that standpoint that, we were around thousands of Eagles fans for her. But the way we had to watch that football game was on giant, big screen televisions, sitting on grass for 3.5 hours. And then they lost. And then right after that, we had to drive back to San Diego from Arizona. So wasn't the best experience. She loved it. I was also still grieving after a 49ers loss in the NFC title game that year. So hopefully for her, it changes. And we don't have to see a three-peat and everyone claiming that this, Chiefs team is the greatest team in the history of the sport. When you look at their numbers as a team, you're like, huh? I mean, everything is very average except for their win-loss record. They win all the time. I mean, you take away the last game of the year, which they didn't play anybody. They got their ass beat by the Broncos. They had a 15-1 season. Put 2 wins in the postseason right now. So in games that have mattered, they're 17-1 this season. And you look at their advanced numbers. Mahomes had a good year, not great year. The team didn't put up 35 points a game. They barely put up 23. Their defense was top 10, but they weren't, number 1 defense in football. You didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. You didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. Yet, this is the greatest team ever. Isn't that crazy that all those things there, and they are a win away from not only a three-peat, but in games that matter this year, going 18-1. That's incredible.
Well, that's one of the differences though between college and the NFL. In college you get, quote, bonus points if you go up and you beat a team by 64 points because, the pollsters and everyone go, oh, look, Florida State just beat that team by 64 points. Aren't they great? Look how many points they scored. NFL doesn't care about that. They don't. And
look
at how many teams in the NFL don't even care if they win the division. It used to be, oh, we went 9-7. That's good enough. We just need to get into the playoffs. Our regular season record doesn't matter. We just have to win in the playoffs. So I don't know. They won the titles. Some of those Jordan teams, not all of them were dominant. Some of them were, but not all of them were, the 96 team where nobody ever beat them.
Yeah, but it is interesting when you break down the numbers and you look at, if you take the record away, now it's hard to do that, obviously, but if you take the record away and you give that blind resume and you tell me to predict what that team's win-loss record was this season, I would be like, maybe like a 10-win team, 11-win team, maybe. I mean, you got a top 10 defense, but a lower third offense as far as points per game goes. You don't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Unless Kelsey got 1,000 yards. I don't believe he did. I don't think he did. I know DeAndre Hopkins didn't. Patrick Mahomes, his season was good, not great. It wasn't an MVP year. All right, here are the numbers this year.
Kelsey had 823.
Yeah, so this year, you didn't have a 4,000-yard passer. You didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher. You didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. Mahomes this year threw for 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. He had a 93.5 quarterback rating. Their leading rusher was Kareem Hunt with 728 yards. Their leading receiver, Kelsey, at 823. As far as like team stats go here, they averaged 22.6 points per game.
I don't know. I guess if you look back though at the previous, dynasty, which would have been the Patriots, with the exception of that year Randy Moss was there and just went crazy. Did they ever have, a real 1,000-yard receiver? They had Welker and those guys, but I think none of them really got over 1,000. He didn't have they didn't really have a 1,000-yard rusher or anything like that. And they didn't put up 50 points a game, with the exception of that one year when, Brady threw like 50 some touchdowns and Moss caught like everything. But for the most part, they were just average for the most. They just won and they played good defense. So they didn't have to score a lot of points.
And that's what this team is. They give up 19.2 points per game. They score 22.6 points per game, which tells you every game is going to be close, which every game has been close for the Chiefs this year, except for a couple. They don't score over 30. The first time they scored over 30 was last week against the Bills, 2 weeks ago against the Bills. So it's interesting. I mean, you got a team on the brink of a three-peat, about to be dubbed, if they win, the greatest team ever potentially. Yet all of their numbers and all of their stats are just kind of like meh. They're average. Like, you don't have any all pros on the offensive side. You don't have any like record breaking stats.
Yeah, but we learned last night, does all pro even matter?
It doesn't, apparently, because you don't have to be an all pro to win the MVP. Josh Allen has proved that. I still don't get it. One voter had Lamar Jackson 4th on his ballot. 4th. That made no sense. I think that, this was one of the closest MVP races in NFL history. The voting was one of the closest it's ever been.
Besides Allen, who would have he voted in front of him?
Well, you would have Josh Allen, Saquon Barkley.
Oh, Barkley. I forgot about that.
Other than that, are you going to vote for Jared Goff? I mean,
Joe Burrow, maybe.
No, Joe Burrow, they didn't make the postseason. He had a great regular season as far as stats and numbers go, but
some people, that's all they care about is the stats.
The voting for these types of awards, and for every type of award, just there's always that one person out there that you're like, what the F are you thinking?
It was the same guy that said Ichiro wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, dude, at least that this person made his vote public. The person that didn't vote for Ichiro hid like a coward and made his vote private. So I give credit for that, for, the person that voted for Lamar Jackson 4th when it comes to MVP the other night. But, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl this year, you got a team with a 2,000-yard rusher. You got, all pros everywhere on the team. You have the number one scoring defense in the league, a top 10 offense.
So the Chiefs are the underdog, you're saying?
No, I'm just
you're making it sound like they are.
No. What I'm saying is none of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. And I guess that's the beauty of the sport. Like, hey, if you have Patrick Mahomes on your team, who gives a crap what all your other stats are? Did you win the game or did you lose the game? And more often than not, they're going to win the game. But I'm just looking at it from, if I were an Eagles fan and say the Eagles did lose on Sunday, I would, to justify their loss, I would be like, oh, well, this team had, Mahomes won the MVP and Travis Kelce had 1,500 yards, this year and was an all pro and he's just unstoppable. And, their defense is the best in football and they scored 34 points per game. Like, they are an amazing football team. Not to say that the Chiefs aren't a good football team. Absolutely they are. They went 15-2 in the regular season. They're in the Super Bowl for the third straight year. They're a really, really good team. I get that. I'm just saying the numbers don't make any sense. You look at the numbers and then you look at the record and they never freaking lose. So that's what I was like, all right. I screw the numbers, I guess. Screw the numbers. Throw them out the window.
Yeah, it's the Andy Reid factor.
Well, when you have Andy Reid and Spags and Mahomes, the three-headed monster there, one of the best defensive coordinators in the game, the best coach in the game, and the best quarterback in the game. I mean, shoot. I'd be okay with saying Spags is the best defensive coordinator in the game just because of what he has been able to accomplish in his time with the Chiefs. How many Super Bowls he has won as defensive coordinator, how many big moments he has, called, and his defense coming through. So maybe that's all. I mean, that's all they need, I guess. They can score 22 points a game, and they can win a third straight Super Bowl. This ain't the Ravens back in 2000 or the 85 Bears defense where you're like scared out of your mind to face them. They're a good defense. So, of course, on Sunday, it's going to be. It's going to be a 24-21 game. Chiefs win on a game-winning field goal, or they stop the Eagles from going down and getting a game-winning field goal. It's going to be close. That's what the game's going to be. It's going to be a close game, which I'm excited for. I hope it's not a blowout. If it's a blowout the Eagles' way, I'll be happy because Aaron's happy. So, couple days away from Super Bowl 59. We'll talk to Cynthia Freeland at 5 p.m. More on that and her thoughts on Josh Allen winning the MVP last night. But coming up next, I have a question for you out there. And text us 70470. Start your message with team. Or you can give me a call 877-767-4760. Do you think the Padres are going to win a World Series under John Seidler? We'll talk about that coming up next. up with San Diego Sports 760 anytime, anywhere. Whether you're stepping out of the car or settling in at home, just ask your Google or Alexa smart speaker to play AM 760 or stream it live through the iHeartRadio app. It's never been easier to stay connected with your favorite shows like this one, Jon and Jim. San Diego Sports 760 goes where you go. So yesterday, John Seidler officially approved as the Padres control person. It will take about 30 days for the trust to go into effect, and that's when everything will be official. Still have the backdrop of the lawsuit and the legal battle between Scheel and the Seidler brothers. But right now, this is going to be a team that is going to, I'm not going to say be run by John Seidler, but he will be the control person. He is replacing Eric Katsenda, who replaced his really dear friend Peter Seidler after his passing a few years ago. And going forward, he will be judged on, can this team win a World Series under John Seidler? Will they win a World Series? Hell, will they even just get to a World Series under John Seidler? And that's the question. Obviously, none of us know the answer to it, but going forward with the message being, we're going to we are going to uphold the legacy of Peter Seidler. Well, the legacy of Peter Seidler was to do anything possible to win the franchise's first World Series ever. And that's the goal. That is the standard. That is what you are striving for as an organization. And you have the perceived pieces to help you try and do that. And doing anything you possibly can to maximize what you have to do that should be the goal every single day. So will they win a World Series? Will they get to a World Series under John Seidler? No idea. But whenever he does speak, that should be the clear message sent to the fan base of, my goal here is to win a World Series, and then back it up with actions and moves. Because while Connor Joe's a great guy, sorry, Connor Joe's probably not going to do it for you. You know, I'm separating the person from the player. The person, Connor Joe, great. The player, meh. And if AJ Preller is reduced to making moves like this for this foreseeable future, I just don't know if that's going to cut it. And it also, benefit him if he spoke more than one time every single year. I'm not saying that he has to speak to the level of Ron Fowler or even speak to the level of Peter, his brother, but, being available is part of what, the fan base is looking for. When things are going wrong, where do people turn? Who's the control person? Who's the owner of this franchise? Right now, it's going to be John Seidler. And so in the future, if he remains the control person, and if this lawsuit doesn't change anything, and if there's a settlement, and if there's nothing that changes from now until whenever this is resolved with the lawsuit, John is the man. He is the guy. So when things go wrong, when the team doesn't make moves, when they make trades, yes, AJ Preller is the guy that pulls those things off, but John's going to be okay, have to okay those things. He has to say, all right, we can spend this amount. We can do this. Let me, write a check. Let me do that. Is what fans will be looking at him now, is his tenure as control person and owner of this franchise will be judged off the same standard that Peter left with was can they make a World Series? And hell, no, not just make one, but can they win a World Series? will they win a World Series? And that's the standard here. That's where the bar is at. It's not every single year they have to win a World Series, but the end goal, the top of the mountain, is a World Series trophy. And to climb that mountain every year, it's difficult. But if you are not making moves to improve your baseball team year in and year out to get to the top of that mountain, it's not having only moves like Connor Joe, no disrespect. It's got to be backed up with actions, and you got to give AJ the opportunity to do those things. I don't want to hear anything about the money. Fans don't care about that stuff. They just don't. They want to see a team that goes out and wins baseball games and signs good players and trades for good players. And so that will be something fans are going to be looking at in not Peter, but his brother, John Seidler, his tenure as control person of this franchise. So they're all questions that can't be answered right now. I understand that. I get that. But I can absolutely ask them. And going forward now, you're going to be judging John on the success of his team and how they will do. All right, coming up at the top of the hour, Chris Hodge is going to join us, get you ready for the Super Bowl, hopefully to make some money out there. Cynthia Freeland joins us at 5 p.m. from the NFL Network. We'll talk about the MVP, Josh Allen, over Lamar Jackson last night, and she'll break down the Super Bowl this coming Sunday. More Jon and Jim coming up next right here on San Diego Sports 760.
The support is sponsored by eBay. Last night, Buffalo's Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen is the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro since the MVP was first handed out in 1957. Allen received 27 of 50 first place votes, 4 more than Ravens' Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro quarterback last month. We got 4 more players getting inducted into the Hall of Fame in Canton this year. Former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates is going into the Hall alongside cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. The Aztecs are back on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock, and Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7 right here on San Diego Sports 760. Swapping out your tires? There's nothing like it. With eBay, you'll find the feel you're looking for, from smooth highway rides to grip for rough terrain. Get all the tires you need at the prices you'll love. eBay, things people love.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim on a Friday. Cynthia Freeland at 5 p.m. Chris Hodge at 4 p.m. Aztec tickets to give away 4:45 during Trainwreck Radio. So I have no idea what the hell is going to happen or even what they're doing for NBA All-Star Weekend. Like, not only do I have no idea, even when I read it, it doesn't make sense. 3 teams and a like I don't get it.
All I know is it's 3 teams. I have no idea how they're going to, 3 teams and the winner of the Rising Star Challenge, which is almost always the sophomore class. And they're going to play each other, but I don't know how they're going to determine who plays each other. I don't know. It's stupid. That's the only thing I know. Just, give us a little bit of, defensive effort. Just go back to playing the game and that'll be good enough.
So last night you had Shaq, Kenny, and Charles Barkley all picked their all-star teams. It was a draft, but this was the most coordinated draft ever. This was not organic at all. You can tell because of the teams that were selected. You got Shaq's team, which is all the aging superstars in the league. You got Kenny's team, which is essentially like a Rising Stars team. And you got Charles Barkley's team, which is all international players. Coincidence? No. They all probably beforehand had producers in the NBA say, all right, here's the teams we want. Here you're going to pick this. If you tell me this was organic, you're a liar. Shaq has LeBron, Steph, AD, Tatum, Durant, Lillard, Harden, and Jaylen Brown. Kenny has Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Williams, Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Cade Cunningham, and Tyler Hero. Oh, all surprise. They're all basically almost the first-time All-Stars. And then Charles Barkley has Nikola Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Victor Wembanyama, Pascal Siakam, Alperen Sengun, Cat, and Donovan Mitchell. Yeah. So
I like Team Kenny.
Yeah. Team Kenny and Chuck and Shaq, they are, there was a clear vision when these teams were picked last night. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. That's how it goes. So here's how the All-Star game will shape out for next weekend in San Francisco. So there's, like you said, there's 4 teams. There's the Rising Stars, and then you got Team Kenny, Team Chuck, Team Shaq. All right. And let me just look this up here because there's a bunch of stuff here. So let's see here. Because it says here what to know for the All-Star game, but it's not telling me exactly how it's going to go. So they're all going to play each other.
Because they probably don't even know.
And then the winner of those games will advance. It says for the first time, the NBA All-Star game will feature a mini tournament with 4 teams and 3 games. 2 teams will meet in one semifinal, and the remaining 2 teams will meet in the other semifinal. The winning teams from game 1 and game 2 will advance to face each other in the championship game 3. For each game, the winner will be the first team to reach or surpass 40 points.
Okay.
The 4th team will be the winning team from the championship game of the Rising Stars Challenge, the annual showcase of the top first and second year NBA players and NBA G League standouts. I'm going to laugh when Bronny's on the G League team. So
I'm surprised that wasn't a requirement for Shaq. It's like, oh, you get LeBron, but you got to take Bronny too. It's a package deal.
So the starters from the Eastern Conference and Western Conference All-Stars, whatever team they're picked for, they're automatically starters. And then the remaining players on those teams will be picked by their coaches to become starters as well. This whole thing is just I got to see it first. Like, I can't just say, "Oh, it's gonna be great." I need to see it, and once I see it, then I can actually like determine if I like it or not.
I think I can pretty much determine it's gonna suck. We'll see if they surprise me, but I doubt it. I'm almost, if I had to put money on it, it's gonna sound crazy, but I'd almost go with Team Kenny, just because I don't think Team Shaq, all those older guys, I don't think they're gonna try, and I think the younger kids don't know any better. It's one of those deals where
That's what Kenny was saying.
Yeah, one of those deals are like on a football practice squad. You'll get these guys that are on practice squad that will forget they're on practice squad, and they'll try too hard because they don't know any better until one of the starters knocks them on their ass. I think some of these younger kids, they might not know any better to go, oh, wait, we're not supposed to give 100% and try. And then they might try, and LeBron and them are just going to kind of coast through it like usual and think that they're just going to be able to shoot wide open threes and, throw double alley-oops off the backboard every single possession.
So we're going to have to see how this looks, but on face, it's confusing, and I think a lot of fans are going to be confused, and a lot of fans are probably going to be watching saying, wait, what happened to the East versus West? And this is on the players, by the way, for not playing hard, because them not playing hard has created the NBA to force their hand and come up with things like this to try to generate these players to give a crap.
Yeah, and they tried everything. They tried bribing them. That didn't work. They tried, they've tried everything, and it just doesn't work. If they're not going to try, they're not going to try.
And it's a shame because East versus West, I mean, if they played hard or gave 85% out there, then it would be a really good watch. I think I would like to watch that rather than this mini tournament for the first team to 40 wins.
Dude, when I was a kid, I loved NBA All-Star Weekend. I loved the whole weekend.
The whole thing was great.
The slam dunk contest was actually exciting, and you had actual superstars in it. You didn't have some dude that plays for the G League and has never even seen any time in the NBA. The 3-point shooting contest, you had actual like Larry Bird and superstars in that. And, the games were all competitive, and they tried, and they were still fun. And then it was just, I don't know. It just seemed like almost after that Magic Johnson year when he came back from testing HIV positive, and then he hit that shot towards the end to win the game. And it was just like, they all kind of went downhill from there.
Well, the one All-Star game where I think it might have been,
they went into overtime one year. I think that was okay, but
I think it was in 99. Maybe I forget when. And it was when they didn't have the All-Star game jerseys. They wore their own jerseys. And it was Kobe out there with Duncan and KG and Vince Carter on the East with AI and Jason Kidd and Stephon Marbury. And Stephon Marbury was just putting on a show. And the game total was like low 100s for the entire All-Star game. And if you just go back, I think it was 1999, but I got to look this up because it's a great watch as far as the end of the game goes. Just go to YouTube and you can just look at the All-Star game when it was Stephon Marbury and Kobe going back and forth. I think it was at the Garden, but I could be mistaken. Those days are like long gone. Now you're getting mini tournaments for the All-Star weekend. I mean, if you told me 15 years ago, mini tournament for the All-Star game, be like, what are you talking about? Players would be like, huh? What?
I don't know. It's for me, it's just sad that instead of Adam Silver just going, look, even if he just goes to the whoever the head of the players union or players association is, and just go, look, the All-Star game is dying. Unless you guys just want to scrap the All-Star weekend altogether and just not have it anymore because nobody cares about it. And we're treading the water of becoming the Pro Bowl and just becoming completely irrelevant to where why even bother wasting our time with it. And just go, they can either try and they can fix this problem, or we're just going to get rid of it.
Well, that would be bad for the NBA because if they got rid of All-Star game weekend,
well, they won't like it either because there's players that have bonuses tied to their getting All-Star appearances. So if that gets ripped out, LeBron's not going to get his All-Star bonus, and that's going to piss some of those players off too.
It's also not a big check there. It's just more like it's in the middle of your season, and that's what your season goes to.
But when it comes time to renegotiate, the NBA makes a big deal out of having All-Star appearances.
All right, coming up next, what will the Padres lineup look like now that Connor Joe's in the mix? We'll talk about that coming up next. right now, this is what I want you guys to do. I want you to open up the iHeartRadio app, unless you're driving. I want you to search for San Diego Sports 760. And I want you to put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets on the new iHeartRadio app. The only person in the world that doesn't have it is John. Everybody else does. So I would greatly appreciate if you put San Diego Sports 760 in your presets in the iHeartRadio app, as well as Jon and Jim, our podcast page, in your presets as well. So Connor Joe, according to Dennis Lynn, DSG, and John Heyman, has agreed to terms with the San Diego Padres. I don't know what the deal looks like, but it's not going to be a lot. It's probably a 1-year deal. Hell, it might even be a minor league contract. I don't know. And going into opening day, he's going to be involved. It seems like he will be on this opening day roster. It'd be kind of weird if you make this move and then you don't put him on there unless you made another move. But looking at their lineup right now, with Connor Joe in the mix, Arise, Tatis, Merrill, Machado, your top 4, we've talked about it. That's a good starting spot for your top 4 in a lineup. I would take that any day of the week. Arise, Toddy, Jackson, Merrill, Manny Machado, yeah, absolutely, sign me up. Then when you get 5 through 9, that's what gets a little tricky. Are you going to hit Xander 5th? That's been an issue with the Padres, hitting Xander in the middle of the lineup because he doesn't produce. Who's going to play first base? Who's going to be your DH? Is Luis Arise going to be your DH, or is he going to be at first base? If he's at first base, then you got to figure out a DH. Is that going to be Eggy Rosario? You're not putting Eggy Rosario hitting 5th in your lineup. You putting Jake Cronenworth hitting 5th? I mean, if you want to go lefty, righty, then sure. But you're going to need someone hitting in the middle of that lineup that's going to produce. Because if you're not going to get that, then that's going to be an issue. And as AJ Preller said over on FanFest this past week, like, they're looking for multiple bats. I don't know if Connor Joe qualifies as a bat. He's a good glue piece, good bench piece, good roll piece. But let's face it, on the field, the guy hit what, 230 last year? Less than that, 220 something. Let me look this exactly what he hit last year, because I had it up, but I had to take it down because my computer will blow up. So last year, Connor Joe, do you have it, Brent?
No, I took it down.
Last year, Connor Joe, as my computer loads, and we anxiously wait, he hit 228 with a 688 OPS. Yeah, sorry, this is not gonna cut it if he's gonna get significant playing time. Last year he had 123. Sorry, played in 123 games, 364 at bats. But he was playing for the Pirates, so the Pirates were doing nothing. 9 home runs, 36 RBIs, meh. 22 doubles, okay. Now, if you told me he was a pinch hit guy for this team that hit lefties really well, filled in here and there, had closer to 280 to 300 bats rather than close to 400 at bats, then I'd be like, okay. But you also still need to fill all the other at bats that you are missing now with the loss of Jurickson Profar. So can Tirso and Connor Joe be a good platoon in left field? We'll have to wait and see. But the lineup as it is right now, with Connor Joe now seemingly in the mix, signing a deal with the Padres, the top of their lineup, great, awesome. All-star, 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 all-star. I know Bogarts was an all-star and Cronenworth was an all-star, but you get my point. And then the bottom half with Elias Diaz and Campy, and then in left field with, I guess, Connor Joe and Tirso, and then Jake being put back at second and Xander at short. Who's your DH? They still got a lot of work to do. The depth of the team is still a problem. The bottom half of the lineup is kind of scary, not the good kind of scary either. And it's just going to put a lot of pressure on your top four to really come through and to stay healthy and to produce. So the puzzle is starting to become more full here with the addition of Connor Joe, but even that, they're going to need more. They just are. It's a nice story. San Diego's own, returning to San Diego from Poway High, cancer survivor, great dude. Vibes are high with him, but I don't expect him to put together a Jerks and Profar all-star season with the Padres. I just don't. I expect him to put together more or less a season like he did last year with the Pirates than anything, where he's not going to hit for a high average. He can hit lefties, but not like a lefty killer per se. But he's a good glue piece, and he's a guy that can fit multiple roles on your team. And that's what AJ Preller needed to do with the loss of Donovan Solano. And if they're not going to bring back David Peralta, you need someone that can fill multiple roles. Donovan Solano filled multiple roles last year, played third base, played shortstop, second base, DH, like good bat off the bench. Can Connor Joe do that? Can he play multiple outfield positions? Can he play first base? Is he going to be able to hit lefties well enough for you to have to put him in the lineup? You know, you are searching at the bottom of the barrel here and hoping something sticks. And if Connor Joe can be a nice piece for this team, that's great. I don't think it puts them over the top, though. But at least it's a move. At least it's freaking something.
You know, maybe his stats will get a little bit of a boost because even if he's batting at like the bottom of the lineup, he's going to have better players hitting in front and behind him on the Padres than he did for Pittsburgh.
Yes, I get that. Yeah.
Granted, I don't think he's going to all of a sudden hit, 25 home runs or anything crazy like that, but it might get him back up to his average that he had like 3-4 years ago when he was in Colorado. He hit 285 that one year, but it's only through 60 some games. But he's not going to play much more if he platoons than 70 or 80 games with the Padres anyway. So I would take 285 if he's just going to come in there and platoon.
Oh my God, he hit 285 this year. It would be like, yeah, sign me the F up.
And just play competent defense and left.
And I think he can. But this signals to me like I don't know if any big moves are coming down the pipe. Unfortunately, I hope I'm wrong, but finding some pieces at the bottom of the barrel to stick in here and see if they stick, probably the course that they're going to go to start off with, at least. Things obviously change, but to start off with, these are the types of moves that you're probably going to have to expect. All right, coming up next, Chris Hodge is going to join us. Hopefully he can help you win some money for the big game on Sunday. We'll talk to him coming up next.
This report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Last night, Buffalo's Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen is the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro since the MVP award was handed out in 1957. Allen received 27 of 50 first place votes, for more than Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro at quarterback last month. We got 4 new players getting inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame. This year's class includes a former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates, cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. The Aztecs are on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock, and Uncle Teddy will have the tip after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs. Tired of wanting hot showers but getting freezing instead? Let Anderson PHA help. They'll solve any of your water heater needs and throw in a water pressure regulator valued at $1,300 for free. Visit AndersonPHA.com.
Previously on Jon and Jim.
The voice of the Lakers, John Ireland. John, have you been able to fully process the Luka trade yet, or is it going to take a couple more days?
It's so hard to comprehend that the Mavericks would trade Luka Doncic. Do they know something we don't? Why would you do this? Until I've maybe got 2 weeks of games under his belt, I don't think I'll fully comprehend it at all.
Now, time for and Jim.
All right, hour 3 of Jon and Jim on a Friday. Cynthia Freeland still to join us coming up next hour. Also this hour, 4:45 during Trainwreck Radio. Another chance to win a pair of tickets to see the Aztecs take on Boise State next Saturday at Viejas Arena. But as we are every week, it's great to have Chris Hodge taking Vegas join us here. Super Bowl is Sunday, so a lot happening with him. But just first off, Chris, how soft is John for missing Super Bowl week?
What is going on?
I know, dude. That's what I was saying.
Who goes on vacation Super Bowl week? We're going to have a talk with him, man. That's a crazy one.
Yeah, and not only that, he goes skiing. It's like, wouldn't you go like somewhere nice and like relaxing? Skiing just kind of feels like a job to me. It feels like a hassle. Like you're going to be sore afterwards. And so, yeah, we'll give him crap next week, missing it Super Bowl week and hopefully he's back in time to watch Super Bowl, but who knows? Again, Chris Hodge joined us here taking Vegas as he is every week. You've been on an absolute roll of late, and just talk about your hot streak here, and as a company getting people to make some money here for you.
Yeah, so the last 17 times I've been on this program, we've given out a free play via text, and we're 13-4 with those. So, I mean, again, here's the way it works in my world. Like, if you texted in for one of those 4 losses, you think I'm an idiot.
Right.
And I get that. That's fine. I can only give you the record that I've done since I've been on with you guys. So the last 17, 13-4. And then I come on this show and I always give out 2 free picks. Tonight I'm going to give out 4 on the Super Bowl, and I'm 23-12. So, 13-4 plus 23-12, all the mathematicians out there, that's 36-16 just for free. So we always try to stay consistent. We always try to give good advice and make it interesting. So if you text the word win to the number 545454, we're going to give you a free pick on the Super Bowl on Sunday. Plus, you will receive a big college basketball game for tomorrow. So all you have to do is text the word win to the number 545454, Super Bowl 59. You get that absolutely free, and there'll be another big college basketball game tomorrow. And we are on a tear with college basketball, so it should be a good weekend for everyone.
All right, so Super Bowl pick, just text win to the 545454 this weekend. Some prop bets for the game, Chris, because everyone loves prop bets. Prop bets are something that every Super Bowl party has, and they have squares going on. But for you, what are some prop bets you have for the Super Bowl coming up on Sunday?
So a couple pretty obvious ones. I think it's going to be a tight end game. I really do. Obviously, the Eagles have some great wide receivers, and obviously the Kelsey and Mahomes connection. So we'll start there with Kelsey. 6 receptions or more. I think he'll get that. If you look at what Philly's done in the playoffs, 3 games, they've allowed 23 catches by the opposing tight end. I know the last game was a blowout, so that kind of the stats get a little skewed. But Ertz did have 11 receptions, And look, when Mahomes gets in trouble, where's he looking? There's no secret there, no scientific stuff there. You know where he's looking. And to get Kelsey to 6, I think Kelsey always plays well in big games. He didn't really get targeted a lot in the AFC title game. He had a great game against Houston. Kelsey, for whether you like him or you hate him, Kelsey's a big game player. So I think he's going to get the 6 quite easily. And then we'll go over to Philadelphia. Goddard's at 5. And look, what does Kansas City always do? They take away what you do well. So they're going to try to take away Saquon. You got the 2 wide receivers on the outside, and what's that going to leave? That's going to leave Goddard there, who's 5. And look, Jalen Hurts, he gets in trouble. That's his guy to look at. So, to get Kelsey to 6 and Goddard to 5, I really don't think that's a hard one. I think both of those are going to happen.
How crazy is Super Bowl for you? When it, every year it seems like it gets bigger and bigger, but everybody wants to be involved in a Super Bowl bet in some type of way. Just how big is it for you?
It's like something I can't understand, to be honest, because like if Kansas City was playing Philly in week 10 and you didn't like the game, right? Let's just say you didn't like the game. Whatever the line was, doesn't matter. But let's say you didn't like it. You wouldn't bet it. But if for some reason, when the Super Bowl is on, people just lose their minds.
Right.
I don't understand what it is, man. They just lose their minds. And look, I'm guilty of it too, because my wife's listening to this right now, so I shouldn't even say this. But I've spent so much money on those Super Bowl squares this year.
Yeah.
That I have to hit one of these just to justify it to my wife, right? So this game just makes you lose your mind for some reason. So if it's going to make the public lose their mind, hell, I better find a way to win it. So that's it. You text the word win to the number 545454. You get it absolutely free.
All right. College hoops now. You have a big college game for tomorrow night. Tell our listeners about that.
So here's the deal with college basketball. And if you're listening out there, you have to agree with this, unless you just might not be very smart. Okay. There's going to be 100 games in college basketball tomorrow. So now if you just do favorite underdog, that's 200 different bets you can make. Now you do over or under. That's another 200 bets. So you're looking at, forget first halves, forget all this nonsense, right? Just on a college basketball Saturday board, there is 400 different wagers you can make with favorite, underdog, over, under, right? For the lay person out there that's just listening to this now, coming home from 5 days of work, I am not trying to sound like an arrogant jerk. You have no shot at breaking all of those games down and being successful. It is literally impossible from a time perspective. I have 18 guys here. I'm number 19. All we do each week is break down games. That's it. Every single day, every single night, we're breaking down games. And we find inefficiencies in the lines. We always have, which is why the free pick record is as good as it is. And we have a couple games lined up for tomorrow that we absolutely love. So if you text the word win to the number 545454, we're going to hook you up with a big game tomorrow. And obviously the Super Bowl on Sunday.
It is a rematch from a couple of years ago. And this week, yes, it is Super Bowl week. But at the beginning of the week, it's like, okay, it's a rematch and we've a lot of the same players. Do you feel a little down as far as like the excitement level going into this game goes? Or for you, is it like, oh no, this is like top notch. Like this matchup is great. I love it.
Well, I mean, it's sad for me. I'm on in Philadelphia, so either way, win or lose, that city's burning to the ground.
Right.
So it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So you get that. And then, look, I like history. I'm a guy that likes history, right? I like to see history, accomplished. And look, you can say whatever you want to say about Kansas City. And we used them in the AFC title game, and they got lucky with calls, all right? They absolutely got calls in that game, but they make the calls count. A lot of teams get calls and don't make them count. Kansas City makes them count. So, you have right now Kansas City winning. They're the first team ever to three-peat. And look, what's Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley done wrong? I mean, these guys are model citizens. They're good people. When Saquon played for the Giants, I mean, he represented that organization with class and respect and dignity. So they got some good guys on that team. And you got a lunatic on the sideline reading the book, which is hilarious. But it should be a really good game. And I'll give you a couple more. I'll give you a couple more free picks with the quarterbacks. You can go Jalen Hurts under 40. Now, he's got a little bit of a knee issue, right? So he didn't have a lot of rushing yards in that Washington game. That was a blowout. But, I think the Chiefs are going to take the running game away and force him to throw. So we're going to go under 40 for him. And I'm going to go under 25 for Pat Mahomes. I don't think Pat Mahomes is going to look to scramble very much in this game. I think he's going to have some people open. So, both quarterbacks under rushing yards and both tight ends over in total receptions.
All right, one more time, Chris. Give out the number to text for your free pick for this weekend and everything that our listeners need to know.
Yeah, guys, even though we don't have a game for you tonight, text it right now. So text the word win to the number 545454. So the pick that's on there for tonight is going to be on the Super Bowl. Okay. So that's free. We want to give it to you guys. We want you guys to make some money. So if you text the word win to the number 545454, you'll get that pick. Automatically tomorrow, you will be sent another college basketball play for free. And again, look, the college picks, the free picks, 13-4 here on the show. 23-12 overall when I give out picks, live on air. I mean, 36-16. If you guys can't make money on that, I can't help you anyway. So, hopefully you guys win. Text the word win to the number 545454.
All right. Love it, Chris. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the game. And we'll talk to you next week and we'll make fun of John. Okay.
Yeah. John's an Eagles fan, right?
Well, he was an Eagles fan. Me with my wife, it's an Eagles house this weekend because she's an Eagles fan. So I'm stuck with that.
You're actually going to give in. You're going to root for the Eagles. All right. I'm going to walk around the house in a Kansas City jersey.
Hey, Chris, I'm rooting for happy wife, happy life. So
very good.
That's what I'm rooting for. Okay.
I got you, bro.
All right, man. We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Chris Hodge there from Taking Vegas. Yeah. It's happy wife, happy life this weekend. As long as the Eagles win, then everything's good for Aaron. All right, coming up later this hour, we have the wrap coming up next. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network's going to join us at 5 p.m. Also, stay tuned, 4:45, Trainwreck Radio, your chance to win Aztec tickets next weekend as they take on Boise State here at Viejas Arena. That is coming up at 4:45 during Trainwreck Radio. But coming up next, we'll get to the wrap right here on Jon and Jim.
All right. So what could you do with an extra $75,000 like right now, or even a couple $100,000? If you own a home, you can get that money in less than a week with Loan Pronto. Hey guys, it is Schaefer. Loan Pronto is the leader in quickly converting your home equity into cold hard cash. So you can pay off all your credit cards or start that home remodel. Loan Pronto has several easy options to let you access the cash from your home. There's virtually no paperwork or cumbersome process, no junk fees, often no appraisal. Listen, the average homeowner now has over $300,000 in equity. $300,000. That's your money. You can use it. One client got $150,000 out, paid off all their credit cards, a couple of car loans, personal loan, cutting their monthly expenses by $1,500. You can get approved in as little as one day. So act now with no hard credit pull up front. LoanPronto.com. 619-207-4336. Get the money you need for anything. 619-207-4336, loanpronto.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
All right, thanks, Chris Hodge, for joining us there. Cynthia Freeland at 5 p.m. We'll get back to the big Connor Joe signing with the Padres. Coming up later this hour. Some interesting numbers on Connor Joe that once you hear them, I don't know if you'll be excited or not, but it's kind of telling, and I think it will perfectly say what you can probably get and expect from Connor Joe this upcoming season. Because I see, and it's kind of funny, Brent. I'm seeing a lot on social media right now, and again, social media is not indicative of an entire fan base, nor is a chat on YouTube, nor is a tweet. Nothing. It's just kind of a little bit of a pulse. And Padres fans are so starved for just any type of move that Connor Joe is like the greatest player ever, according to the vibe on social media right now. Like, what? He's a San Diegan? Greatest move ever.
Well, it's one of those things where, like, if you haven't had pizza in like a year, you could go and eat one of those like Totino's party pizzas,
Greatest
and
pizza
you're
ever.
going to think it's like a $50 pizza, and it's going to be the greatest pizza ever, just because, like you said, you've gone so long without it that now it's just like, it's the greatest.
Exactly. So Padres fans are starved for a move. We got to move. And it's like, wait, what? Yeah, he's a San Diegan? Oh my God. We'll break down some of the numbers for Connor Joe coming up later this hour. But right now, Brent, let's get to this.
It's time for The Wrap, presented by Sombrero Mexican Food. Check out their website at sombreromex.com.
Do you think Tiger Woods will make the cut next weekend at the Genesis Open?
So Tiger announced today that he will be participating at Torrey Pines, likely for one of the last times in his career at the Genesis Open. As you know, the Genesis Open got moved from LA because of the wildfires down to Torrey Pines for next week. And look, I can tell you this. If you were on the fence about going to the Genesis Open, for the casual golf fan out there, I'm sure ticket sales saw a spike today once Tiger got announced. But will he make the cut? I mean, probably not. Like, you better get there Thursday and Friday if you want to see Tiger.
Well, that's what I was going to say. When they sell those tickets, do you buy them like for the weekend, or you just buy like the first 2 days so you could plan on him not making the cut and go?
You can, there's different packages. Like, I'd have to look it up, but you can buy for just a single day, I would assume.
Oh, okay.
You can go just for a Thursday or a Friday, or you can buy probably a package for the entire weekend.
I wasn't sure how that worked.
Yeah, you don't have to commit your entire weekend. Like, it's not the only option you get is you have to buy tickets for the entirety of the 4-day event.
Okay. I didn't know if they kind of did like Comic-Con, or like, okay, here's your passes. The event is, Tuesday through Saturday.
Right.
Go whenever you want to. I didn't know if they're just like, okay, you got passes for the weekend. If you want to try and fight the crowds for, Sunday, you can do that. If you just want to go on Thursday, you can do that. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't think he'll make the cut, but it'll be cool to see Tiger at Torrey here in San Diego. I'm excited for that. I was actually kind of looking to see if I could get a credential, but it might be too late.
Probably not now.
And also, if Tiger's only going to, if he's going to play Thursday, Friday and not make the cut, it'd be impossible for me to go, depending on when he would tee off. Because, oh yeah, by the way, we have a show that we got to do in the afternoon.
Just do it live from the Genesis.
Yeah,
Sega.
Exactly.
How
All right,
many?
Brett, next question.
How many non-roster invitees will make the 26-man opening roster for the Padres?
I'm going to go with right now 2. I don't know who it will be, but I'm going to say 2. I'm going to say a pitcher and a position player will make the roster. If you were to ask me to give you names, this is just purely speculation and just a guess. I'll go with Francis Pena, and I'll go with Mason McCoy. I don't know. But if you had more than 2 non-roster invites make your opening day roster, I don't think that's a good thing.
No, not unless they just went ballistic during spring training.
They still have multiple 40-man roster spots open. Now, I think the addition of Connor Joe here will take up one of those roster spots. You know, if it's a major league contract. I still have not seen the terms for Connor Joe yet. If anybody's seen him out there, you can tag me on social media on X or just put it in our YouTube chat. Or you can text us 70470, start your message with team. But any more than 2 non-roster invites making the opening day roster would be a little concerning. Like the years when the Padres had a bunch of Rule 5 players on their team. You're like, ugh. So potentially this roster could have a Rule 5 player that they picked up back in December from the Baltimore Orioles and multiple non-roster invites make their club. All right. Brent, next question.
How many rushing yards is Saquon Barkley going to have in the Super Bowl?
I think he's going to get over 100. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy like 160 or 170. He gets 160. Eagles are winning this game easily. There's no world where Saquon Barkley has 150 plus yards rushing and the Eagles lose the game on Sunday. In my opinion, that would be like the game would have to be like in the 40s.
I don't think they're going to lose if he gets 100.
I don't kind of agree with you.
I think he's going to get held under 100. I think Kansas City's main priority is going to be to make Jalen Hurts beat them and not let Barkley just go in there and, look like the reincarnation of Jim Brown for the weekend. So, I can't imagine that Kansas City's not just going to try and stack the box and just say, look, Jalen Hurts, you've had an okay season, but it's nothing fantastic. So we're going to make you beat us instead of Saquon.
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to go with over 100 yards. I'm going to go with 112 yards rushing. I think if he gets 112 yards rushing on the ground, depending on how many attempts he has, like if he has like 29 attempts for 112 yards, not that great of an average, but I think you're right. I think if he gets over 100 yards rushing, that the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. So I'll go with 112. Nothing crazy, but it will cap off one of the best seasons ever, maybe the best season ever from a running back. If he puts up another 100-yard rushing game in the postseason, he'll have rushed for over 100 yards in every single game, and likely he will be the Super Bowl MVP. Next question.
Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
I'm going with the Eagles. I know the notion of just why are you betting against Mahomes? I get it. It's stupid, but I'm not betting against Mahomes because I'm not betting on the game. I'm just giving you who I think will win. I think the Eagles.
Now, if you said the Chiefs, would you be able to walk into your front door tonight?
Well, the thing is, I don't think she's listening, so I'd be okay. I just wouldn't say anything.
Like, of course I picked the Eagles, honey.
Of course I did. But I just am looking at the roster, and the Eagles have a better roster, but the Chiefs have a better quarterback.
I say they got Patrick Mahomes.
They got Patrick Mahomes. Last year you could have made the same argument. The Niners had a better roster than the Chiefs last year. And look what happened. Could the same thing happen this year? A team with a better roster, more all-pros, better running game, all of that, go up against a team where Patrick Mahomes is, I'm not going to say all they have, but he's just better than everybody else. And he eliminates all of the, problems with their team. So I'm going Eagles, mostly because I want them to win for Aaron, not because I want them to win, but I want them to win for Aaron. I do think they have a real good shot, but you just never know. It's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if he pulls this off again, Brent, and they go for a three-peat, one, Nick Wright is going to be insufferable, even more insufferable than he already is.
He already is.
But two, I'm going to have to convince myself that this is one of the greatest teams ever in football.
Real quick before we go to break, I think it depends on how it happens. If it's like a field goal game or something where it can give people an excuse, or there's
like another call that went the Chiefs'
they didn't
way.
call a holding in the second quarter, and that's why they lost the game. But if they go out there and say they went 45-3 and just put no doubt, whereas like you can't blame the refs, you can't blame this, then I think it'll make a difference if they win like that, opposed to by the skin of their teeth again.
All right, coming up next, some interesting stats on newest Padre Connor Joe. Also, Cynthia Freeland join us at 5 p.m. Aztec tickets, your chance to win those at 4:45. Stay with us right here on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. The Aztecs are back on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts right here at 6 o'clock. Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7. Last night, Buffalo Bills quarterback Jared Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen is the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro since the MVP award was first handed out in 1957. Allen received 27 of 50 first place votes, 4 more than Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro at quarterback last month. And we got 4 new players going into Canton. This year's Hall of Fame class includes former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He's going in alongside with cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. Kitchen sink more clogged than Monday morning traffic? Kitchen clog catastrophe? Avoid a flood that your home insurance won't cover. $63 stoppage guaranteed. Anderson Plumbing Rooter Drain Services. They always know what's below. Nobody wows clients like they do.
All right, back here on Jon and Jim. Aztec tickets coming your way at 4:45. Stay tuned for that. Cynthia Freeland at the top of the hour. Connor Joe, not official yet, but it's going to become official. He will be a San Diego Padre. And some numbers from last year. All right. Overall, his 2024 season, not great. Hit 228. Blah. Not what you're looking for his season with the Padres.
To be fair, no one that wasn't named Paul Skeens had a very good year for Pittsburgh, though.
True. Some interesting numbers, though, on Connor Joe. His on-base percentage is pretty good. You know, if you're looking for a guy that can get on base, you know, Jurickson Profar last year was an on-base machine. He had one of the best seasons as far as on-base percentage go, you know, in all of baseball. Easily the best of his career. But last year, as a leadoff man, Connor Joe did really well with the slash line, hitting 278 with a 350 on base and a 426 slugging percentage. That's great. Problem is, he will not be the leadoff hitter in San Diego. He's not going to be over Luis Ariz unless they trade Luis Ariz. Then I would probably say, well, Fernando Tatis Jr. would be a leadoff hitter I'd want to see. So that's great, but it's in a spot that you probably won't see Connor Joe in much at all this upcoming season. In the bottom third of the lineup, where he could be this year, he hit 250 with a 379 on base, but only a 292 slug. So that was not great. A lot of his games last year were hit in the middle of the lineup, either hitting third or fourth. And
I don't think he's going to bat cleanup.
No, he's not. That's where he really dipped off. And he did not do well. So, look.
What? A guy that's career high is 11 home runs didn't do good at cleanup?
Yeah. Look, if you're asking Connor Joe to play every day, you're probably not going to get the full production that you're looking for from him. And you're going to be in a situation where I'm sure a lot of times we'll be coming on here and be like, why is Connor Joe hitting 6th or whatever? But in a platoon role, in a bench piece role, in a guy that can play multiple positions, it's a good rounding of the edge piece. Just don't expect him to do a lot for you. You know, good clubhouse guy. Obviously a San Diegan, so right off the bat, you know fans are going to be happy about that. But you also got to produce. I don't care if you're from San Diego. If you're not going to produce, it doesn't matter. Sorry. You know, I want to see this team win. If you got a bunch of guys on this team that were from LA, but they won, that's great. I wouldn't care. If you got a bunch of guys that grew up rooting for the Dodgers in Padres uniforms now, but they helped the team win, that's all I care about. That's all you should care about too. It's nice he's from San Diego. Hometown kid. That's great. Now, how is he going to help this team out? Is this the only move that AJ Preller is going to make for the next couple of weeks? I hope not. I hope there's more to come. If they truly view this as the replacement to Jurickson Profar, then you got problems. Sorry. If you are going to go into the season with a platoon of Connor Joe and Tirso, or Neelas, then I'm a little concerned. Could turn out to be great, but again, if these are the only moves that you're going to make to fill out the left field spot because you can't spend any money, not really happy about that. Not a great first impression for a John Seidler run team. Love seeing him in a Padres uniform the other day, wearing a Padres jersey. It's great. Waving the yellow rally towel. It's awesome. It's cool. But you're going to need to do more than that. And is Connor Joe it? This is a definite scraping of the bottom of the barrel signing. It really is. It's not a knock on Connor Joe. It's just, who else out there was lining up to sign Connor Joe? And I hope this is kind of one of those lightning in a bottle type of moves. Who knows? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but at least he's a major league player. Yet to see the terms. I'd be surprised if it was longer than 1 year. I really would. My guess, it's a 1 year, $3 million deal, something along those lines. And we'll just have to wait and see. Do you think the signing of Connor Joe, Brent, is going to change their fan graphs projection of 82 wins for the upcoming season?
Yeah, they're going to be at 81 and a half.
They got
now.
worse. It's like the other day when the Zips projections came out and you had a 0.8 WAR total from the catching spot this year, and then as soon as they put in Elias Diaz, it dropped to 0.7. They got worse. Yeah, I don't think Connor Joe, the signing of him, is going to.
I don't think it's going to move the needle either way.
Really. I agree with you. I don't think it's going to move that needle. Oh my gosh, it's now instead of 82 wins, it's 87 wins. Probably not.
115 wins.
Connor Joe's like the actual missing piece of the puzzle.
He's going to be the baseball Neo.
Yeah. So. Depth piece, played multiple positions, outfield, first base, San Diego's own, went to Poway High. I'm sure he grew up a Padres fan. Survived cancer. Good dude all around, good vibes. Like, that's great. But can you help the team on the field is the big question here. And again, I don't think their win projection total at Fangraphs is going to be bumping up here from 82 wins to 86 wins. Would you take the over under right now, Brent, at 85.5? Because that is what Vegas has the Padres at right now for the upcoming season. 85.5 wins. Over or under?
I take the under. Just because I'm not convinced that they can stay healthy. And, we've been harping all week about how they can't afford to have, especially in that starting rotation, any of those main guys go down. So, I don't know. I'd probably take the under.
I think I would take the under too. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if you got 86 wins, 87 maybe tops. Like, that's kind of what their ceiling feels like, 87, 88. 88 wins, a lot of things would need to go right for them.
Oh, yeah.
90 wins, they would have to have some incredible things happen.
Xander Bogaerts would have to revert back to
all-star Xander Bogaerts.
Yeah, from 4 years ago.
You would need May to put up a damn near close to MVP season or an MVP type season from Fernando. You need the same type of year from Jackson Merrill. You're going to need King, Cease, and Darvish all to give you 30 plus starts and all have damn near 15 wins each. Then you could start talking about a potentially really good season, but that's if everything goes right for them. And they're going to need some of these others, the bottom of the barrel pieces to hit. Not to the extent of Jerkson Profar or Donovan Solano, but be at least serviceable and productive. They can't be completely black holes with this team. You're going to need Connor Joe to be somewhat productive for you this year and have productive moments and not be a player that we're sitting here in a couple months saying, you can't play this guy.
Well, it's kind of like what we said yesterday. We don't need, Connor Joe, or I'll remember his name if they actually bring him up. Was it
Tirso?
Yeah, that guy. We don't need either of them individually to replicate what Jerickson did last year. We just need between like the two of them to replicate what Jerickson did last year.
Yeah, if one of them hits 10 home runs, the other hits 12 home runs combined, like that'd be a really good combination there. You get 22 home runs total from your left fielder. And if you can get on base at a good clip, Connor Joe's a guy that can get on base. I'm not saying he has to hit for high average, but hey, can you have a 345 on base percentage this year for the team? That'd be incredible. That'd be great. Might be asking for too much, but can you put together a season where you have a good on base percentage of that high for his standards? I mean, anything over 350, now you're cooking. Now it's like, whoa, okay. So it's a nice piece of the puzzle to round out the edge. Doesn't really move the needle that much for me, but at least to kind of, they do something. And that's what I said. It's like Padres fans are sitting here, and any move they make, it's the greatest. It's like, oh my gosh, yes, they made a move, because they're, just sitting on their hands waiting for AJ Preller to strike, waiting for something to happen. And I'm just worried for the move of Dylan Cease has been traded to come up on my timeline. I really do not want to see that. That would suck. But I don't think we're going to see that soon. And by soon, I mean, I think Dylan Cease will be at Peoria next week when pitchers and catchers report. All right, coming up next, right now, 877-767-4760. Call 877-767-4760. We need 2 contestants to play Trainwreck Radio for your chance to win some Aztec tickets, a pair of Aztec tickets, as they take on Boise State next Saturday after Valentine's Day here at Viejas Arena. 877-767-4760. We need 2 contestants to play Trainwreck Radio for Aztec tickets. Trainwreck Radio coming up next. right, Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network going to join us at 5 p.m. We'll get back into the Padres news of the day. What this means for the club heading into this season, the non-roster invites got announced today. Some interesting names on that list, but Brent, let's get to this.
All right, 3 questions, 2 contestants, 1 lifeline. Today's 2 contestants, we have Terry and we have Bill. Normally, Terry, you'd get to pick between Jon and Jim, but since Jon is soft and not here, you're just going to get to go first, okay?
Okay.
All right, so then Bill, you will go second. All right, guys, today's question. We told you about Antonio Gates leading the Hall of Fame class going in for this year. Did you guys know that there are 6 teams that have at least 32 Hall of Fame members in the Hall?
32?
Yes. Today's question, name the 6 teams with at least 32 Hall of Famers.
What the? 32 Hall of Famers?
Yep.
Okay.
Holy cow.
I know. Wow. All right. Terry, you're up.
It's not like I asked you to name all 32.
I know, but that's a lot of Hall of Famers. Terry, you're up first. What's your first guess? You have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm gonna go for Dallas Cowboys.
Dallas Cowboys, 32. Wow. Okay, on the list. Bill, you're up next. What is your first guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to say the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Pittsburgh Steelers on the list. There we go. Terry, back to you. What's your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Oh my gosh. Chicago Bears.
Chicago Bears on the list. Wow. Bill, back to you. What is your second guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Washington Redskins.
The Washington Redskins, now known as the Washington Commanders.
Oh, well, sorry about that.
No, you're
it's all good.
We got it. Terry, back to you. What is your final guess? You do have a lifeline if you want to use it.
Oh God. What was the last one again?
Washington.
Washington.
Okay. And we already did Pittsburgh, Dallas, Green Bay Packers.
The Green Bay Packers. Very good guess. All right, Bill, you're going to need this to send this thing into overtime. What is your final guess? Or you have a lifeline if you want to use it.
I'm going to say the New York Giants.
The New York Giants. Wow. Okay, so we are now going to overtime. Brent, give us the question of overtime and how the overtime rules work.
All right. How overtime is going to work is I'm going to ask you guys another question. When I'm done asking the question, you're going to yell out your name today since you don't have a different partner to yell out. So Terry, you're going to yell out Terry. Bill, you're going to yell out Bill. Whoever yells out their name first, you're going to win the game by getting the question right, or you're going to lose the game by getting the question wrong. You guys understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Today's overtime question. Who is the halftime show of the Super Bowl?
Bill.
I heard Bill.
Kendrick Lamar or Lamar.
Yes.
You got it.
Kendrick Lamar is the right answer. That was amazing. Kendrick Lamar is the halftime show of the Super Bowl. You asked me during the break my excitement level for Kendrick. It's pretty high. Okay. I said like an 8, damn near close to a 9. I think it's going to be really good. I'm kind of curious to see who else he brings out there. Is Dr. Dre going to be involved?
No. The only rumor I've seen is Lil Wayne because he had to clear it with his like record label. So expect a Lil Wayne appearance possibly.
Okay.
Which I don't hate that.
Usher last year was fine.
He was all right. You know, he was better than The Weeknd. Like The Weeknd's thing made no sense.
When Usher got to that's when it like the whole and then Lil Jon came out, then it started to pick up, and you're like, okay. And then for like a 3-minute span there, I was like, damn, this is lit.
I'm still one of those people that thinks it's hard to beat Prince. In the rain,
Dude,
doing Purple Rain in the rain. It's hard to top that.
Yeah, that was a moment in time that will be a top Super Bowl halftime show performance ever.
All right, but back to the Hall of Famers.
Yeah, who do we miss?
We didn't miss anyone. We got all of them.
Oh, okay. No Niners?
No, there's no Niners.
Wow.
There was a 4-way tie. Dallas, Pittsburgh, the Giants, and Washington all have 32. Green Bay has 34, and the Bears have more than anybody. They have 39.
Jeez. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. We'll talk about the Hall of Famers that got newly inducted last night. One player on the list, one of the last remaining ties to San Diego in Antonio Gates. We'll talk about that coming up next hour. But coming up next, Cynthia Freeland, as she does every week, will join us. She'll break down the Super Bowl with us and her thoughts on Josh Allen winning the MVP over Lamar Jackson. Cynthia Freeland coming up next on Jon and Jim.
This report is sponsored by eBay. Last night, Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen was named NFL MVP. Allen became the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro. Allen received 27 of the 50 first place votes. He got 4 more than Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson, who was selected first team All-Pro quarterback last month. And we have 4 new players heading into the Hall of Fame in Canton. This year's class includes former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He's going into the Hall alongside cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. Make sure to catch the Aztecs tomorrow night when they are on the road to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage with John and Fletch will start at 6 o'clock. Uncle Teddy will have the tip shortly after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs. We all got a thing. Yes, even you. If you love fashion, car parts, trading cards, whatever you're into, it's on eBay. So go find the thing that keeps you up at night. eBay, things people love.
It's Jon and Jim to warm up that drive home.
The Padres win total projections, according to Fangraphs, was 83. With the core they have, and they lost Profar, and they haven't made any moves, I'm not surprised, but I'm also a little surprised. I don't know, a 10-win drop-off from last year when the major player that you lost was Jerkson Profar, and then you lost Higgy as well. Those 2 players are worth nearly 10 wins.
Now, time for Jon and Jim.
All right, final hour here on Jon and Jim. So on my back page to get to, we'll also get to the news of the day with the Padres. And of course, we'll talk about the Hall of Fame. She was there last night. It's great to have her join us as she usually does every single week. Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network join us right now on Jon and Jim, brought to you by Hamul Casino. Cynthia, how surprised were you that Josh Allen won the MVP last night, or were you not surprised at all?
I mean, I don't really think I'm that surprised because the time that most of the voting is done was right after that Kansas City win. So I think in terms of like freshness in someone's mind and the kind of things where a voter might feel like, okay, well, I feel good about doing this right now. That was it. So, when they vote matters too.
Would you have voted for Josh Allen for MVP?
That's a tough question. I wish I had an MVP vote. I would have really thought about it. To me, there's some version of, there's a case to be made for Lamar. There's a case to be made for Josh. There's a case to be made even for Joe Burrow. So, I mean, I probably would have gone with Lamar, but I'm not in the situation. So, they'll have to wait for my vote.
Right. Yeah. Look, I'm not saying that Josh Allen isn't deserving. Of course he is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He had a great season, and Lamar had a great season as well. The only thing that I'm confused with is the same voters who voted for, the all-pro teams voted Lamar, yet then went right around and then voted for Josh as MVP. I guess, the word valuable is the word that I guess people are looking at instead of, stats here when it comes to voting for the MVP.
Or they're peacekeepers and they're like, well, you get one, like with your kids, you get one and you get the other one. Now everybody gets an award.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you've won already 2 of these. He's not had any, so let's give him.
And you had none. It's your turn.
Yeah, exactly. Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network joining us here on Jon and Jim. The Super Bowl, that big game coming up in a couple days here, Cynthia. When you break down the matchup, when you look at the Chiefs side of the football, what is the most important thing? Take away Patrick Mahomes because he's Patrick Mahomes. But other than that, what is the most important thing you'd want to see from the Chiefs on Sunday in order to get this win and complete the three-peat?
Well, there's a couple of things. The first thing is I need to have an answer so that it doesn't turn into Saquon for 5 or 6 a clip, because that's the surest way to losing is if you're allowing Saquon to rush for chunk, you just wear defense down, right? It would almost be better if he got 1 50-yard run than 10 5-yard runs, if you think about it like that. So I would say short tackling for Saquon and then figuring out how to decide the one-on-ones that you want to forego. If you're going to stop Saquon, decide the one-on-ones you're going to forego. Are you going to leave, AJ Brown against maybe? Are you going to put Trent McDuffie with AJ Brown? Or how are you going to handle that? So that I'm looking for Spags to have some things up his sleeve that we haven't seen yet, but that's kind of that to me is like, all right, let's not let Saquon just gouge it like that.
If you're the Chiefs on offense, what's a matchup that you'd be looking to exploit on the Eagles defense?
Any form of Xavier Worthy in space. I don't care really which team it is, but Xavier Worthy has been the guy in motion ahead of the snap. Now in the postseason, it used to be Travis Kelce, and now it's really turned into a lot more Xavier Worthy. And then his ability to, you leverage that speed that outmatches any linebacker level. That's the surest way to a first down. It may not be sexy like Xavier Worthy catching like a 70-yard touchdown, but again, it's those short first downs and those conversions and keeping the possession on the side of Patrick Mahomes, because we know he can pull off miracles.
Would you expect a big game from Travis Kelce, or do you think the Eagles defense is it going to be able to stop him on Sunday? I mean, it seems like Travis Kelce is a guy that, Father Time does not work for him when it comes to the playoffs, but how would you view this matchup with Travis Kelce against the Eagles defense?
Yeah, I mean, in the playoffs, we've seen we've seen the Chiefs go away from using 12 personnel as often. So the 2 tight end sets, that was the thing they did the most often in the regular season. They've gone away from it in the postseason until the Super Bowl, which leads me to believe that Andy Reid has something up his sleeve that involves, I don't know, Travis Kelce running like one of those crossers that like other people wouldn't even know was a crosser, because it's just some like ad hoc play that the two of them can figure out together. They'll just make it happen.
Yeah, they are the best at just ad-libbing everything. They just A lot of times you watch the film and you're like, wait, that's not even a route. Like, what is that? And it's Travis Kelce getting open in space, and Mahomes knows exactly where he is. Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network join us here on Jon and Jim talking about Super Bowl 59 this upcoming Sunday. On the Eagles side of the ball, if I told you that Saquon Barkley has 115 yards rushing, would you say the Eagles win that game?
I would say, is it real 115 or is it like 50, 30, and then like 1, 1, 1, 1, 1?
I would say
right?
yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. But overall, do you think that if he gets over 100 yards in this game, the chances of the Eagles pulling off a win, even if if it's one of those like he rips off a 60-yarder, like you said, and then everything else is really tough for him, do you think that if he gets over 100, that the chances of them winning on Sunday is pretty decent?
The chances are high. The chances are high if he has over 100. Now, I will say there is a scenario, and a very real scenario, that Saquon and the Eagles get up to, I don't know, double-digit lead in some potential way, and they kind of slow down the pace, which would slow down the yards, which would slow down the total, and then Patrick Mahomes comes like steals their heart in the second half. Like that is something that feels like it could happen, but I would say there is a world where if they get up to that double-digit win, in order to not lose that advantage, that they would just slow the pace down, and that potentially could make Saquon not have as many yards. But again, that's not I wouldn't say that's super probable.
And for the Eagles offense, obviously Saquon is the number one option there. But if you're looking to exploit the Chiefs defense, that you've already mentioned, the Chiefs are one of the best tackling, if not the best tackling teams in the league. But other than Saquon, what other options are you looking at if you're the Eagles to try to use, like you said with Xavier Worthy, for the Chiefs?
Yeah. So, I mean, look, like A.J. Brown outside the numbers is, especially in the playoffs, a huge deal. Why? Well, a lot of teams are stacking the box to try to stop Saquon, and then they're getting really good one-on-ones on the edge with A.J., and A.J.'s huge, and that's a really good one-on-one. So I would imagine that they've got a plan for that too. Now, they're going to say, make either Devontae Smith or Dallas Goedert beat us. And that's going to be the difference maker. You saw Devontae Smith in this last matchup, tie the game up at 35 near the end, right? So that's going to be another one where I'm like, well, which poison are they going to pick? Because Trent McDuffie, great. Mm-hmm. Some of the other corners, not so great.
Yeah, and you look at a Spags defense; they were great this year. They weren't. Yep. They held teams to under 20 points per game. They're a top 10 defense. McDuffie is one of the best corners in football, but what are the weaknesses, I guess, of this Kansas City defense?
I mean, Kansas City's defense, look, any corner not named Trent McDuffie is a weakness. I mean, they're just not as sure-handed, especially if you compare them to the corners for the Eagles. Those two rookies specifically have just been really freaking good, really lights out, especially, since week 7 when Cooper DeJean was able to go fully and they could play nickel. Whoosh, that's some good stuff. But I would say in Kansas City side, the area to exploit would be, you've seen a lot of tight ends have a lot of success against them in terms of yardage. Well, why did that happen?
Right.
Spags is he's a risk taker. He'll give you zero blitz sometimes, right? Like, and it's knowing when that's going to happen and being able to absolutely find the tight end who, in that pressure scenario, just finds his way right past that first and second level of the defense. That could be a big problem. If they're watching Lamar Jackson and Isaiah Likely from way back in the beginning of the season, that's the kind of thing that could be a very problematic part of the Chiefs defense.
Jalen Hurts, other than 2 weeks ago in the NFC title game, every time he threw for 150 yards, they won every game. And obviously, when he threw for more than yards than that, they would lose. And he had a great game in the NFC title game. That was incredible. They have 7 rushing touchdowns. But going into this matchup here, Cynthia, what are you expecting to see out of Jalen against this Chiefs D?
Well, I'm seeing a tush push because that feels like it's a foregone conclusion. But I'm expecting Jalen to look a lot healthier. I mean, whether or not everyone's like, oh, is he okay? Whatever. Like, he was banged up. That doesn't mean he was unable to play. It's just now it's going to be closer to 100%, which means we'll see different arm angles. We'll see adjustments at the line of scrimmage. We'll see, we see Chris Jones on third down line up on the edge this time. They're going to try to exploit that mismatch. Maybe they give Jordan Mailata that. So that right side could be interesting. So I'm expecting a lot of fun, different arm angles, different, more normal Jalen Hurts, less hurt Jalen Hurts. And of course, his ability to use his legs is very strategic and will be helpful.
So with all that being said, with everything that we just broke down there, is it to you as simple as, well, the Chiefs has Mahomes, so I'm picking the Chiefs?
No, I'm picking the Eagles because that's my model pick.
Okay, so you have the Eagles.
I have a feeling that Mahomes wins. Like if I picked based on gut, it would be Mahomes. But when I pick based on every statistical metric that I have, it is a 1-point win for the Eagles, which would mean a 2.5-point win if you're considering it in Vegas terms.
So, I mean, if the Chiefs do end up pulling this off, I was talking about this earlier in the day. Yeah, their record is incredible this year. Take out the game against the Broncos, which was the game didn't matter. They're 17-1 on the season. The only game they lost was on the road to the MVP Josh Allen. But then when you break down all their stats, I mean, they're averaging under 23 points per game. They're not, the best defense in the league, but there's a really good defense. They're not even close to the best offense. They don't have a 4,000-yard passer, a 1,000-yard rusher, or a 1,000-yard receiver. Where would you put into context this Chiefs team if they do pull it off with everything I just said?
I would say it's balanced. I would say that this is a true, we talk about football being complementary, and that's what this is. It's balanced in terms of, what the defense does gives the offense a chance, and what the offense does gives the defense a chance. So I think balance is the best way.
Well, all right, Cynthia, you got the Eagles on Sunday, 1-point win. If the Chiefs do win, first three-peat in NFL history. We can't wait. I know you can't wait, Cynthia. We'll talk to you next week for the final time. John will be here. I know he's skiing right now. John will be here.
Tell him to get back to work. Some of us got to work this week.
I was like, hey, what's going on? He's like, I'm going on vacation. I asked him when. He's like, oh, the week of the Super Bowl. And I was like, excuse me? You're going on vacation on the week of the Super Bowl, but the way his schedule lined up, it's the only time he could have gone. But still, he's soft, missing Super Bowl week, and we'll give him crap next week for it. Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network joining us here on Jon and Jim. Enjoy the game, Cynthia. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks,
all right?
You too. Thank you. Have a great one.
All right, there's Cynthia Freeland there of the NFL Network, brought to you by Humboldt Casino. 7 restaurants, thrilling games, and a sports pub voted San Diego's best. Humboldt Casino is fun above all else. All right, coming up later this hour, the Hall of Fame announced its newest members last night. One San Diego Charger made that list. We'll talk about that and all the Padres moves today. Yeah, there's actually some moves the Padres made. More of that coming up next on Jon and Jim. of Fame were announced last night. 4 of them. And one of them, Antonio Gates, former San Diego Charger. I feel like every time we mention like Antonio Gates and LT and Dan Fouts, like anybody that was put in the Hall of Fame that is a former Charger of, before they moved to LA, you got to say San Diego Charger. So I really hope when he gets inducted and he has his speech that they announce him as former San Diego Charger, not just, it would be, it'd be so Chargers for them in the NFL to announce him as like an LA Charger. Or if they announce former LA Charger Antonio Gates. No. It's former San Diego Charger Antonio Gates.
I bet they'll just introduce him as
a Charger.
Yeah.
See, I would hope that Gates wants to be introduced as a San Diego Charger because
is it up to him though, or is it like
idea.
baseball where they don't really have a choice? What cap goes on their bust?
Well, they don't have any affiliation when they get voted, when they get put into the NFL Hall of Fame. It's just they're Hall of Famers. Introduced. So, thinking about it, if the Chargers were still here, this would be the number one story in San Diego right now. It's Antonio Gates going into the Hall of Fame, but it's not even close. And when you think about it, it's kind of sad because, I think Phillip Rivers will eventually make the Hall of Fame. And then after that, it's done. Like there will be no more San Diego Chargers inducted in the Hall of Fame ever again. Antonio and Phillip, those were the last 2. That's it. And if Phillip never makes it, then Antonio Gates is it. That will be kind of like that's the last of the San Diego Chargers ever. And it's that, look, that's kind of sad. I didn't grow up a Chargers fan. Obviously, I'm a 49ers fan. But I know a lot of people out there who just stopped rooting for the Chargers, and I 100% get it, and don't blame you at all. I'd do the same thing. When you see Antonio Gates inducted in the Hall of Fame, you feel something because you remember you rooted your ass off for this guy. He had incredible moments. He was the best tight end in football at points of his career. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. And he's had incredible moments with the Chargers. And one of the moments I think of is when I first got here, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and it was really, really hot. And they were playing the Seattle Seahawks, and it was when they had, the Legion of Boom, and they were one of the best defenses in football, and he had 3 touchdowns that day. It's sad to see that potentially Gates could be the last San Diego Charger able to get into the Hall of Fame. I still think Phillip will get there, but he won't be first ballot like Antonio Gates was. If Eli Manning's not first ballot, Phillip's not going to be first ballot. So I know that we all hate the Chargers here. Rightfully so. We don't talk Chargers football because they're not in San Diego. They're in LA. But Antonio, when you think of him and you see him get inducted in the Hall of Fame yesterday, you saw LT, induct him as far as like surprising him goes. They had all the surprises set up. And LaDainian Tomlinson surprised Antonio Gates and now, announcing to him that he made the 2025 Hall of Fame class. Like that was pretty cool. And if you were a San Diego Chargers fan, that gets you right in the feels. Have an LT tell Antonio Gates that he's made the Hall of Fame. It's kind of like the last bit of San Diego ties that you're going to have to this Chargers team. Joey Bosa, let's be real here, he's not making the Hall of Fame.
No, because he gets hurt too much.
And he only played for a year here as a rookie. Keenan Allen, he's not making the Hall of Fame. And he played, I think, for like a year or 2 here. in San Diego.
Hurt too much.
So other than that, you got no other ties to the Chargers, and I don't see, unless I'm missing something, any other players that had, were San Diego Chargers going to make the Hall of Fame other than Phillip Rivers. So it's a little sad if you're a Chargers fan to see that, because it brings you back. Like, I'm sure a lot of fans out there have just completely cut out the Chargers in their minds. They don't care. They don't want to think about it. But then when you see Antonio Gates get inducted in the Hall of Fame, you're like, ugh. And it just brings you back to those moments you watch Antonio on Sunday and Monday nights, and how he was one of the best tight ends in the league when he was out there, and one of the greatest tight ends in the history of the game. And you're like, oh, that was a San Diego Charger. Now I'm seeing in my chat, John Schaefer has joined us. Must be nice. You can go on the YouTube chat, but you can't call into the show. Wow. Got time to go skiing and
soft
commenting on the YouTube chat, but no, I don't have any time to call into my own show. It's okay. Enjoy your vacation, John. It's okay. But anyway, yeah, Antonio Gates.
Is the Super Bowl still cool, John?
Yeah, how cool is the Super Bowl, John? Not Shannon Sharp. Sterling Sharp, his brother. Sterling Sharp.
The less annoying Sharp.
Right. Eric Allen, Jared Allen.
No relation.
And
Die Hard joke.
And Antonio Gates. By the way, Eric Allen, San Diego too. Like,
oh yeah, he
San Diego guy there as well.
Yeah, because I always remember the Eric Allen story of when he ended Costa's high school career. You remember that?
I do remember that. Just totally took him out.
Yeah, he went over the middle, and Eric Allen just took him out. Yeah,
right. We didn't even talk about Eric Allen, but two San Diegans. I mean, Eric Allen here, and then Antonio Gates didn't grow up here, but
they didn't have anybody in this year's class who was like, really, that guy got in. It's just everyone that was in this, yeah, they all deserve to be in the Hall. I don't have a problem with any of them.
I didn't even realize that Sterling Sharp was still eligible. Or how did he get
because he didn't play a lot of games because he had a neck injury.
No, I'm saying why is he still eligible? I don't know.
Oh, you're eligible for a while yet. He's still, because I brought up Jerry Kramer earlier in the show. Yeah, you're eligible, I think, for over 30 years, because Jerry Kramer retired in the 70s or the late 60s, and he just got in 4 years ago, and he was on his last year. I don't know how many years you have.
Well, good for him. I mean, if you look at Sterling Sharp's career numbers and you look at some seasons that he had, Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time, but Sterling Sharp was neck and neck with Jerry back in the 90s. He had some incredible years. Jared Allen, Hall of Famer. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. And then Antonio Gates. It all makes sense. 4 members of the Hall of Fame class for 2025. No Eli Manning, which is interesting. I get it. His regular season numbers. He never won an MVP. He wasn't a 10-time All-Pro. What will get him eventually in the Hall of Fame is those 2 Super Bowl wins that he had over Tom Brady. As it should. He will be a Hall of Famer, and he should be a Hall of Famer. All right, coming up next. The Padres made a move today. Yay! We'll break down the Connor Joe signing. It's not official yet, but it's going to become official. And the non-roster invites. Yay, non-roster invites. All right, all that coming up next.
This report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. The Aztecs are back on the road tomorrow night to take on Colorado State. Our pregame coverage starts at 6 o'clock. Uncle Teddy will have the tips slightly after 7 right here on your home for the Aztecs. The NFL Hall of Fame welcomed 4 new members last night. The new class of the NFL Hall of Fame is going to include former Chargers tight end Antonio Gates. He's going in alongside cornerback Eric Allen, defensive end Jared Allen, and wide receiver Sterling Sharp. Also last night in the NFL, Josh Allen was named the NFL MVP. He was the first player in 21 seasons to win MVP without being selected first team All-Pro. Allen received 27 of the 50 first place votes, for more than Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Tired of wanting hot showers but getting freezing instead? Let Anderson PHA help. They'll solve any of your water heater needs and throw in a water pressure regulator valued at $1,300 for free. Visit AndersonPHA.com.
I love how John is watching the show on YouTube, but he won't call in. It's fine. I get it. No, don't call in. Seriously, don't. He wants to talk San Diego Mojo. So the Padres, they made a move. It's not official yet, but soon will be official. And it's like we were talking about earlier. You know, if you haven't had something in a long time, like if you like you said, pizza, or if you hadn't had a burger and you ate a lot of burgers and then you just stopped eating burgers and pizza for like a year, and then you finally have like a burger and it's like not a great burger. It's from like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say McDonald's because McDonald's doesn't have like horrible burgers, but let's just say McDonald's as an example. Like one of the, like a horribly made McDonald's burger, and you're like, oh, it's the greatest burger ever.
It's like if you haven't had a steak or something, I could bring you the most well done dried piece of meat, and you'd be like, oh god, this is awesome.
He's like, oh, I have meat. Not to say that Connor Joe is a dried piece of meat, but let's not act like this is a signing that's going to turn into an all-star signing like Jerkson Profar was last year. Hope I'm wrong. I just don't see it that way. Yeah. Brett in the chat says Connor Joe is not a good burger. He's not a bad burger, but he's not a great burger. He might not even be a good burger, but he's a serviceable one. If you're hungry, you need something, just he's a serviceable burger. He gets the job done. Won't be something you remember, but if you're hungry, you need something to eat. Okay, there you go. It's not my first choice, or my second, or my third, or my fourth. But it's a depth piece that this team was looking for. It's a move that, hell, see what you got. You know, if you're going to be, scrapping the bottom of the barrel, why not? It's not going to cost you much. No, I know I'm saying that Connor Joe's like a burger, but we're not going to eat Connor Joe. No. I look at the move as if he can fill in at different positions on the diamond, then that's great. Left field, right field, first base, bench. If you tell me right now Connor Joe's a part of your bench every day, that's great. But unfortunately, with how this team is built right now, Connor Joe's probably going to get somewhere close to everyday at bats. And I don't know if that's really going to do it. If you mixed in Connor Joe every other game or every other, 3 games, and you had him play 3 times a week, like, okay, but he's probably, to start out with, going to be given the opportunity, if he gets the job in spring training, to be potentially the everyday left fielder, depending on what Tirso does in spring training as well, and the other moves that they make. Now, if this was a move that leads to another move, then I'm all for that. And I like that a lot. Just, hey, Connor Joe, bench piece, that's great. But then now the other move we're going to get for the actual guy that will be in front of Connor Joe, cool, that's great. Connor Joe is a depth piece, sign me up. But if you're asking him to have everyday at bats, the guy that hit 228 last year, yeah, I don't know about that one. Probably not going to work out too well. But hey, he's a San Diegan, so it's great. Vibes are high with Connor Joe in a Padres uniform. Can he produce? Can he put together some productive moments this year? Can he get on base at a fairly decent clip? Can he be a guy that's not a complete black hole? Like Tyler Wade was last year. Like, if he is like Tyler Wade, that's a problem. I don't expect him to be like Tyler Wade because Tyler Wade is, replacement level player at best. And then you're going to start seeing the memes of Tyler Wade working at Jack in the Box every single day. He's the definite upgrade over Tyler Wade. He has to be. You can't give the production that Tyler Wade gives you, or a guy like Mason McCoy would have given you. If he can put together a season where he hits 240-ish with a 345-ish on base, and give me a slugging percentage. Okay, I'm not looking for him to have a 700 OPS. I think the biggest thing here is his on base percentage, what he does against lefties. And then that's going to be, what you'll be looking at with Connor Joe. Johnny in the chat says, Connor Joe gives me Trent Grisham vibes. Weak bat, solid defense. Yeah, but the problem is Trent Grisham couldn't get on base if his life depended on it. At least Connor Joe can do that for you. If you get a guy that can have a 350 on base percentage, regardless of what his batting average is, that guy's a valuable piece. Trent Grisham, dude, was awful. He can't hit for average. He can't get on base. Yeah, he plays some nice defense in center field, but other than that, he's a definite upgrade over Trent Grisham. Looking at the non-roster invites, I asked a question earlier in the show, like how many of these guys are going to make the opening day roster? 2? If 3 are going to be opening day roster, then you got problems. A couple. Nothing really stands out. AJ Cassavell wrote about it today. Not a lot of depth there. A lot of relievers. Not many starters. On the pitching side, the thing that sticks out the most is Ethan Salas and Leo DeVries. And if you're going to spring training, that at least brings some excitement to when Manny's not out there and Tatis isn't out there and Jackson Merrill isn't out there, that you'll get to see the future of this team. And I think that alone is worth going to spring training for. But other than that, 2 guys that won't make the roster, I hope don't make the roster, couple years away. Other than that, the cupboard is bare. And a couple of these guys will make the opening day roster. It's just which ones? Because majority of the moves this offseason have been minor league contracts that will now turn into the non-roster invitee players, and see if something sticks in spring training. Who can have a good spring training to make the opening day roster? And then we'll talk about that as like he's the greatest player ever, and he's had a great spring training, and he comes into the season, and then a month in the season, you're like, what? That happens all the time. So I'm going to need to see it. I'm not going to go and say that, oh, Tirso O'Neill has had a great spring training. He's the left fielder of the future. Go and prove it. Go and prove that you can take what you did in spring training, if he has a good spring training, or whoever, and can you put together a productive season? Because if you can't, then it doesn't matter. All that matters is, can this team find production to replace what you lost last year, or even get close to that? Can they get 75% of what they lost last year? That's going to be tough. That is going to be extremely tough. You lost 18 home runs from your catching spot, and you lost a left fielder who was the starter in the All-Star game last year. Had an 800 OPS. Got on base at an incredibly high clip. Was a part of so many big moments. So it's all about piecing the puzzle together and seeing it, what sticks and what doesn't stick. Is Tirso going to stick or not? Is Connor Joe going to stick or not? You got to fill out this roster. Even if Connor Joe's back spring training, guess what? He's got a major league contract. He's on the opening day roster. I just am a little scared if all of a sudden opening day comes against the Atlanta Braves and Connor Joe's in left field. And then you start asking yourself, is this it? Is he our everyday starting left fielder? Or is this team going to go out and make a move for one? And then Connor Joe can back that player up, become a bench piece, role player, which fits him way better than being an everyday guy. 400 at bats for Connor Joe in a season. No, sorry. 250 to 300, probably 300 to 330. Like, that better suits him. What do you got, Brent?
This is from the text line. This is a callback to yesterday when we were talking about the Padres World Series percentages, like yesterday or the day before.
Right.
Text line. Hey, man, Connor Joe easily bumps our World Series odds up to 0.8%.
Yeah, if you missed that, the odds, the percentage chance of the Padres winning the World Series this year, right now, Sportico has them at 0.7%. They gave them a 38% chance to make the postseason. And today, Fangraphs, for the win total for the Padres, sits at 82. Vegas has their line at 85.5. It's a very, on paper, average team with a very top-heavy, talent-laden roster. And they're saying that these holes could be a problem for this team. I see Mills in the chat. Profar had one good year. Let me explain to you real quick, why Profar was so important. All right. If you only think he had one good year, you weren't watching. Jurickson Profar, if you look at his time in a Padres uniform, that's when he was at his best. Okay. Yes, he had an all-star year last year. But if you're telling me that Jurickson Profar is going to fall off the map, or would fall off the map if he came back to the Padres, then you just weren't watching. Because every year in a Padres uniform, he produced, except for one season. 1 out of 4 years, he was really bad. And then 3 out of 4, he was great. Fantastic in 2020. He was great in 2022. He was incredible in 2024. I don't know what he's going to do with Atlanta. He might suck. All right. He might return to Colorado, Jurickson Profar. But what I do know is that when Jurickson Profar put on a Padres uniform, he was really, really good for what they were asking of him. Yeah, is he ever gonna put up a season like he did last year? Probably not. But you weren't asking him to do that. And he brought something to the team that you just don't see in the box score. It was the intangibles. It was the grit. It was, the fight. It was things in the locker room, that the clubhouse that you never see. He brought the team together. I think it's a huge loss. I just do. I think it's a massive loss for this team. Hopefully I'm wrong on that front, because if I'm right, then we're going to see the effects of it this year with this team. And I'm afraid those effects aren't going to be in the good ones. All right, we'll wrap up the week with my back page coming up next. on Jon and Jim for the week. Jon will be back on Monday. If he's not, we got problems. He'll be back. The chat's a little spicy right now. Let me just say this. All right. If you want me to hype up every single move the Padres make, that's just not going to happen, guys. I've said today, I think the Connor Joe signing, it's a fine signing. Is it something to start booking World Series tickets for? No, it's not. If this is a move that's going to lead to another move, then that's great. And then I like the Connor Joe signing even more because then he becomes what his role should be on this team, which is a bench piece, fill-in guy, 3 days a week in the lineup type of bat. But if he's going to be an everyday player, that's where I have some major concerns. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to come on here and hype this guy up like they just got Aaron freaking Judge. Nah, that's not going to happen here. Sorry. He's a nice piece. He's a role player. But he hit 228 last year. Okay? Like, come on. He had a sub 700 OPS. All right? Well, what about Jurickson Profar when he was with the Rockies? Okay, well, Jurickson Profar in his career had years where he was very productive. Connor Joe, unfortunately, other than that 60-game stretch in Colorado back in 2021, not much. It's a nice story. I think he's going to bring some good vibes to the team, and hopefully he can be added to a part of their roster that is desperately needed, which is depth. He's a good bench piece. But if he's an everyday player, that might be a problem. All right, Brent, let's get to it. All right, I got to give a shout out here to one of our coworkers, Brent. Producer Chris over at Channel 933. He sent over some big game prep things that are happening this upcoming weekend.
Okay.
So here's some things that are happening this weekend that you might not have known of. 7-Eleven is offering emotional support pizza to NFL fans whose favorite teams aren't in the Super Bowl.
Go on.
7-Eleven is offering, quote, emotional support pizza to football fans still hurting from their team's disappointment this season. The campaign includes a buy one, get one free offer on any pizza ordered now on the 7 Now delivery app until Super Bowl Sunday. The goal is to provide some comfort and cheer to fans as they cope with their team's awful season. That's pretty funny. I always, if my team's in the game or if I'm, I always avoid predictions from whoever. I just don't want to look at anybody's predictions. I don't know. I just think it's a jinx. But a Zoo Tiger has predicted the Super Bowl winner. The New York Post says that a Zoo Tiger in Iowa, in Des Moines, has predicted the winner of Sunday's Chiefs-Eagles Super Bowl. The Lion has chose the Kansas City Chiefs. A zookeeper says that the animal
It's a Des Moines Lion. It's probably on math.
Well, this lion apparently
Tiger,
has
whatever.
correctly predicted 11 out of the last 13 Super Bowl winners.
Oh, okay.
Moving over to hotels, Motel 6 price gouging the Super Bowl attendees. Motel 6 in New Orleans has raised their rates to $500 a night. On Monday, Motel 6 will go back down to charging just $90 a night. That's crazy talk.
You know that was going to happen, though.
Like,
It's Super Bowl. It always happens.
yeah, the price ranges from $550 a night to $4,700 for a 2-night stay. Ugh.
Dude, I'd sleep in my car.
And Aaron wanted to go to the Super Bowl this year. I'm like, you're out of your mind. That's not happening. I'm putting my foot down. Sorry, I love you, but no chance.
I've been like, no, we went to Europe.
Right? Yeah, we're going to Hawaii. That's much better. All right. Thanks to Chris Hodge. Thanks to Cynthia Freeland. Thank you, Brent, for the week. John will be back on Monday. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Until then, have a great rest of your night, everybody.